So, one of the things that's been making me consistent money, thousands a month in profit, not just revenue, for I don't know, 4, 5 years now is retail dropshipping. Now, I've dropshipped on pretty much every single platform and opportunity that you can. And one of the most consistent ways to do it that's low risk and high potential reward that almost anybody can do, as long as you obviously have a computer, you're within, the terms of service on these websites and you're doing it correctly. And obviously I will show you all that here in these lectures to come, is dropshipping on Mercari, Poshmark, Facebook Marketplace, basically retail websites. Depop's another good one. There's a bunch. Basically retail websites where you don't need to go out and acquire the traffic, pay for ads, create content just to get sales. Now, there's nothing wrong with those. It's just there's a higher barrier to entry for that. There's more essential effort for those. Whereas retail dropshipping, you can literally just list products onto retail websites where there's already traffic and then acquire customers essentially for free minus your sweat equity and get paid for it, right? And all you're essentially doing, to keep it simple, is marking up other retail products on other websites like Poshmark, Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, basically marketplaces where there's already buyers searching for active products, right? And the reason that this works so well is because A, you're just facilitating the sale. B, there's software that will do this for you super quickly, like Z-Drop lists perfectly. Also, because most people, one of the questions I get asked all the time is why would they purchase that if they could purchase on eBay or Amazon for cheaper? The answer is simple. Most people don't price check impulse buys, all right? I have been doing this for, like I said, 4 or 5 years now. It's been minimum $1,000 per month profit, maximum probably anywhere from like $5,000 a month profit. So it's not going to make you a millionaire, but it is easy money in your pocket every single month, just doing something easy with software that pretty much handles 95% of the work for you. So with that being said, I really hope this helps. Any questions on retail dropshipping? I've been doing it. I still do it to this day. Drop them in the comment section below, but I hope you like these compilations. Give me feedback on them too. I've been putting some on my Vault channel as well. And obviously, if you like these compilations, like where it's a bunch of specific videos around a certain niche or topic, let me know that too, and I'll put more together. Now that we talked about the different ways that you can source inventory and the importance of selling across multiple marketplaces, I want to dive deeper into some specific platforms that make up a strong reselling ecosystem. And one of the most important platforms that I'm going to talk about is Poshmark. So if you've never used Poshmark before, or maybe you heard about it, but you never really taken it seriously, I think you're going to find that it's actually one of the most underrated resale platforms available today. I absolutely love this. I recommend that almost everybody that's new and even like intermediate start and build the basis of their reselling business here on this platform. Now, originally Poshmark started primarily as a fashion resale app. It was designed as a place where people could buy and resell clothing, shoes, accessories, basically flip their closets into what they wanted, next, okay? And get a deal, obviously, on other people's clothes that they really didn't wear that much. But over the years, the platform has expanded far beyond just clothing and introduced a ton of new categories. So today you can sell pretty much everything on the platform: accessories, home goods, decor, electronics, beauty products, lifestyle products, you name it, like a variety of categories. They have a ton, okay? So while fashion is still a major part of the platform and clothing is still all over the platform, it's evolved into a much broader resale marketplace, and you don't just have to stick with that. One of the things that makes this place unique compared to other platforms is the built-in community-driven model, okay? So it's slightly different than other platforms because of that. Buyers and sellers are constantly interacting with each other on the platform, and it's kind of more of a social media-y feel. People follow closets, they like listings, they share other people's items that they like, they send offers more frequently, they participate in theme selling events called Posh Parties. There's now live selling on the app as well. And because of that interaction, listings can gain visibility in ways that, quite frankly, different from traditional marketplaces like eBay and others. Now, what this means is that if you understand how the platform works and how to position your listings correctly, your listings have a real opportunity to get seen by a ton of different buyers. Now, later on in this module, we're going to talk about the specific mechanics of the platform and how those interactions actually impact your sales. I'm going to give you all the tea, spill it all for you. So what works for me, how you can obviously replicate that, get a ton of fast results as well. I absolutely love this platform, but I also do want to mention something important. While Poshmark encourages activity and engagement, obviously, people for some reason have like this weird understanding, especially Poshmark sellers, that like hard work equates to sales. And while again, I've covered this in another part of this course where I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for I don't know, like almost a decade now. I am somebody that wakes up early. I pride myself on working hard. I'm all about hard work. For some reason, there's this weird thing on Poshmark where it's like you need to share manually. You need to engage manually. You need to do all these things manually. You need to be part of the actual atmosphere and community. And I get that if you like it, right? If that's your main goal is to like hop on, kind of be like in the social media, build community, get some sales here and there, flip your stuff, then like that's great. I love that about that, right? But if your main goal is to make money with the app, to build a reselling business, to utilize it to actually make some side income or scale an actual business, then nobody has time to sit around all day and share their listings or send offers manually or engage on the platform manually all day long. If you take that approach, you're going to be on the app 10 hours a day and you're not going to get much results, okay? You're just going to feel part of the community. And again, if that's your thing and that's what you want to do, that's great, okay? But for the longest time, even before there was other software out there that like fully automates your closet and getting sales like there is now, and I'm going to show you that here in this module. Even before that, there was software out there that would share when sharing was a little bit more like prevalent and one of the things that mattered a ton more. Now sharing end offers and a ton of other things matter as well. But back in the day, like even 5 years ago, 3 years ago, like I would tell people run share bots because Poshmark doesn't really care about it. And this lit fires in the community. Like people hated that, right? You weren't, even if you were running them, like you weren't supposed to talk about it. It was too nuanced, okay? And again, that's insane. Because if you want to get sales here, if you want to actually make some decent money on the platform, you can. It's incredibly scalable. I love it. But you need to be willing and you need to understand that software is going to play a major part of that, all right? There's systems, there's tools that can automate many of the repetitive tasks that you need to do to get successful here. And we're going to talk about all these in this course, but it's important to understand how the platform actually works too, all right? So again, I'm going to share all those tools with you, all the understandings with you and everything that I do to like get inventory, list it very quickly and get sales. But I want you to understand the mechanics of the marketplace as well before that. So you can decide how much you want to operate manually and how much you want to streamline through automation. I do pretty much all automation, listing software, sharing software, offer bots, all of that. But you don't have to start there if you don't want to. I just want to give you those tools. Now, another reason that I love Poshmark so much, especially for newer resellers, is the simplicity of it. Compared to other platforms, the selling process, the listing process, everything's pretty straightforward and super easy to use. You don't need like a PhD in running the back end of the actual platform to get sales like you might on Amazon, for example. They keep it super simple, but there's still a ton of opportunity here, okay? And a ton of different things that they're introducing. Like you could even run ads on the platform if you wanted to, although we're not going to cover that in this course because I don't feel like it's necessary. You can experiment with that if you want. And that is literally something that you just turn on and off and tell it what you want to budget. There's no specific targeting involved there, so there's not really much to teach there. You either say, hey, I want to run ads, and some people have success with that. Some people don't. I've pretty much broken even on my ads, so I don't think it's worth it yet. So again, we're not going to cover that in this module. Now, Poshmark is going to provide you prepaid shipping labels, which makes fulfillment very easy. It doesn't overcomplicate it. But obviously, that is going to be a challenge if you want to drop ship. So keep that in mind as well. I'll give you workarounds for that and ways that I do it. They're also going to handle the payment processing for you. They're going to obviously charge the buyers for you and keep everything for you and then pay you out. So you don't have to worry about any of that stuff where, you know, you have like fraudulent buyers. They're also great with returns as well. So if a buyer files a return and, you know, you've listed the item correctly, it's in the right condition, you're not trying to scam them. Generally speaking, they're pretty good with the returns with sellers. So there's a ton of built-in seller protections. I love this platform, again, especially for newer sellers. It's going to help reduce a lot of the headaches that can happen in online selling, especially on some of the other marketplaces. Now, I've sold in many different places, many different websites over the past decade. I've worked with wholesale inventory. I've done online arbitrage at high scale. I've done retail arbitrage a little bit, although I've never really liked it a ton. There's a great opportunity and profit margins there, especially during like the holiday season. And if you can find like great deals, I don't typically like that. I've done drop shipping exponentially. I do a ton of that right now. I've worked with liquidation suppliers and I've done liquidation pallets and flipped them. I've built private label products. I've done brand, like I've done everything. Okay. I've sold across multiple marketplaces in multiple capacities during that time. And in my experience, so the only reason I'm saying that is not to brag, it's to say like I've experienced everywhere doing everything. And in that experience, Poshmark still to this day is one of the simplest and one of the most seller-friendly platforms to operate on that is super easy to use, but also has scale if you do it correctly. You can make great money on this platform. It is a phenomenal opportunity. And the process to do that is pretty straightforward, okay? You source products in any of the ways that I listed, and we're going to cover them all in this module as well. You create listings, again, super easy to automate, or I'm going to give you a ton of different tools to do that as well. You can use those listings to get in front of shoppers, whether you're sharing your closet, making offers, or a number of each of those, or engaging in posh parties or whatever. And that is exactly what I'm going to walk you through in this module step by step, okay? So I want to talk about how to set up your account, obviously, correctly. It's very easy and straightforward. You just sign up for an account, and then you can set up your profile and then start listing. We're going to talk about how to create listings that actually get found and generate sales. We're going to talk about shipping and fulfillment, how to drop ship even if you want to do that around because you need on Poshmark, it's one of the only places where you actually need their label. And so you obviously have to have the product on hand to ship it out or have a prep center to do it for you, whatever the case is. And you can't, it makes drop shipping a little bit more difficult than it is on other platforms, but that is a benefit as well. But again, if you're not drop shipping, there's other ways to make a ton of other money. I just mainly drop ship on this platform now. We're also going to talk about tools that can save you time and increase efficiency as well, listing tools, sharing tools, offer tools, and we'll talk about sourcing strategies that will allow you to maximize your margins and make a ton of money. But one of the biggest reasons I'm excited to teach Poshmark, because in my opinion, it is a massive opportunity even still. I absolutely love this place. Hopefully you can hear that in my voice and the excitement. Platforms like Amazon, eBay, they're incredible marketplaces, don't get me wrong, but they can sometimes feel crowded, over competitive, and definitely complicated. Whereas Poshmark, on the other hand, is extremely simple to use and extremely simple to list on, engage on, get sales on, manage everything there. Still has a strong community atmosphere and a very active and built-in buyer base. Millions of shoppers use the platform every single month, and many of those buyers are actively looking for things and searching for things, deals, unique items, secondhand fashion, vintage pieces, electronics, one-of-a-kind items, and pretty much everything across the board now. As I said, it's expanded. And at the same time, the resale industry itself is booming, but there's still not a ton of ridiculous competition on this website. You can make a killing, okay? Consumers today are also much more comfortable buying secondhand products online or even new products. And in fact, many shoppers actually prefer shopping online. I know I do as well. I don't have to actually go out to the store, spend my time. I can literally, from the comfort of my own home, from my phone or from my computer, just buy it very, very easily, okay? So they're actively searching, they're actively looking for these things, and you can capitalize off that. You can build a sustainable business here that gets predictable sales and scale it as the months, and years realistically, as we do this in the foreseeable future, we can continue to scale, all right? So there is a ton of demand on this platform, a ton of opportunity for resellers. So whether your goal is to start small and build just like a little side hustle that generates extra income and pays some of your bills, or eventually scale this into something much bigger like I have, Poshmark can absolutely be a powerful platform to build on. And throughout the rest of this module, I want to walk you through all the strategies in depth that I personally use on this platform. I've taught many other sellers to do the same thing and built a profitable business that's been profitable for, the last 4, 5, 6 years at least on the platform. I absolutely love it, all right? Now, we're going to break everything down step by step for you, so don't worry about that in the section, but I kind of wanted to just introduce you to the marketplace, introduce you to some of the strategies, involved in selling here, and then obviously we're going to cover them a little bit more in depth as we move on more into this module. Now, one of the most important things that you need to understand about Poshmark is it's a share-for-share culture. On this platform, sharing is everything, and the more you share your listings, the more other sellers will share your items back to their own followers. And this doesn't just increase your exposure to your existing audience, it opens up your visibility to a completely new buyer base that are outside your followers. So that's obviously massively important, but here's the key point as well. Sharing doesn't just help with visibility in other people's feeds, it also directly impacts how high your items appear in search results, okay? So for example, let's say a buyer searches for white wool gloves, because I always use that example when I cover exactly why you should share on this platform. The platform doesn't just show the best listings or the most relevant listings first. Instead, it sorts it for most recently listed or most recently shared. And that means that if you're not consistently sharing your items, they will slowly sink lower and lower in search results, making them practically invisible on the platform. But if you're sharing often, then your items are going to pop back up to the top and get way more organic visibility without you having to pay for ads or do anything else, right? And as you might expect, more visibility equals more sales. Now, here's the problem. Nobody in their right mind wants to sit around all day manually sharing in their closet. When I first started Poshmark, I don't even know, 8, 9, it feels like 8 years ago now, roughly, you used to have to share manually pretty much, right? And it was terrible. You had to sit in front of your phone or your computer all day, 6 to 8 hours a day, just clicking share, share, share over and over again. But that is not a business, right? That's torture in my opinion. And that is exactly where automation software comes in. Automation tools like the one that I will show you in the very next lecture will handle all the sharing for you completely safely. They're going to handle your listings on a schedule. They will send offers to likers to drive more sales and simulate urgency. They will basically keep your closet active and visible and getting sales without you having to lift a finger. Instead of obviously wasting your time clicking buttons all day and clicking share, you can focus on what actually matters, which is sourcing more products, figuring out what's actually selling, creating better listings, and growing your business and collecting more money. And let's be clear on one common concern, because I get pushback on this whenever I say it to, not all the time, but definitely with some people. But using a bot is not risky, okay? The truth is Poshmark has been aware of automation tools for years, okay? When I first started, like I said, 7, 8 years ago, whatever it was, I think I've used 6 or 7 bots now, and they've gotten progressively better up until the one that we're going to talk about in the next lecture. But they've never once cracked down on it in any meaningful way, even back then, especially now, right? Because at the end of the day, Poshmark knows that it's going on, but they only really care about keeping their buyers happy and their sellers active so that they can collect more money. And as long as, this is the only caveat, as long as you're a good seller who provides quality products, ships on time, and takes care of your customers, which is all things that you will learn in this course, then they don't really care if you use automation to share your closet. It's really that simple. So here's the bottom line. If you are not sharing, you're not competing. It's that simple, all right? That is how Poshmark works. You have 2 options. You can either spend 8 hours a day manually sharing, or you can let automation handle it for you, completely automatically for you, right? It is that simple. So in the next lecture, I will walk you through how to use Posh Sidekick, which is the automation bot that I personally recommend. You will see how I set mine up. I will show you it on the app on my actual phone. It will handle all the heavy lifting for you so you can actually build a business without burning yourself out. Before you spend money testing a product, one of the easiest things you can do is look at what's already happening in the market. Instead of picking a product just because you saw somebody selling it on TikTok or Instagram, I like to stack as much evidence as possible before I decide whether it's actually worth testing. One way you can do this is with Zeek Analytics. Start by finding a product you're interested in, and then use ZK to identify Shopify stores that are already selling that product or similar products. From there, you can dig deeper into those stores with the sales tracker and Shopify traffic analytics. Look at things like how much traffic the store is getting, how engaged visitors are, and where that traffic is actually coming from. For example, are they getting customers from Google, social media, paid ads, or direct traffic? Then compare a few different competitors instead of relying on just one store. If multiple stores are selling similar products, getting meaningful traffic, and you can see where they're generating that traffic from, that's another piece of evidence you can use when deciding whether the product is worth testing yourself. Now, none of this guarantees that a product is going to be profitable for you, but I'd much rather go into a product test with this information than blindly pick something because I saw somebody else selling it online. So if you want to do more research before testing your next Shopify product, I'll leave a link to ZK Analytics below. So I want to briefly show you how to drop ship on Poshmark using ZDrop from sites like Amazon, Walmart, etc. Really any website that obviously fits the shipping parameters and will get the products to you fast. But obviously for the majority of beginners, I typically recommend Amazon using Amazon Prime and Walmart using Walmart Plus, at least in the beginning to build the base of your store, right? So I'm going to show you a tutorial here of how to use ZDrop. ZDrop is a software I've been using for 5-6 years now. It's great. If you want ZDrop, you can go to zdrop.com. That is ZEEDROP.com. Sign up for it here. It's $17 a month, but honestly, it is so worth it. If you dropship on other platforms like Facebook Marketplace or anywhere like that, then obviously it's also going to help you copy and paste addresses a lot faster, which saves you so much time when you're processing orders. But the majority of you are just going to be focused on the buttons here that comes with it. So that's going to help you copy listings so much faster to sites like Poshmark, Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, you name it, okay? So it literally in just a few seconds copies the title, the description, the pictures and marks the price up a certain amount that you set, right? So once you sign up for ZDrop and you install it, you'll be able to sign in here. The first thing that you want to do is come into your settings and actually set it up, right? So you can see I have my profit margin set to 75%. You could set this to whatever you want. Obviously, you want to account for marking the product up so you're making money. You also want to account for any offers that you plan on actually making on the product, right? And you also want to account for any of the site fees, okay? So Poshmark, which we're going to be dropshipping here specifically, has the highest fees of any platform. That's why I have it marked up to 75%. I also have an offer bot that goes through and makes offers to likers at discounts. So I need to mark it up to account for any of the offers. So if my offer bot makes an offer, I don't lose money on a sale, right? You can mark this up 60%, 50%, 40% if you don't plan on making offers. I typically mark them up higher because I'd rather make more money in less sales than more sales, more work, and the same money. But this is just what works for me. Again, you could play around with this, mark them up higher or lower based on what you want. I'd recommend on Poshmark at least 60%, especially when you're starting, right? Now, you can set up the profit percentage or the profit amount if you want that per sale. I always go profit percentage here. So if we unclick that, go back into settings, you'll see it's set to 75%. I don't ever really put custom templates. You can play around with that if you want. I used to do that a lot on Facebook Marketplace when I dropship there. I don't do that on Poshmark or Mercari or anything like that. I literally just have it copy over the actual description, and then I make sure that there's nothing in the description, all right? Now, for quantity, I typically always recommend to set this to 10. You don't want it to have a quantity of 1 or 2 or 3, so that if you get a sale or two really quickly, then you're out of stock on that product and you don't even know it. So you want a decent amount of your quantity, but you also don't want to make your quantity like 100 or 1,000, because that's going to look a little bit shady. It's also going to increase the amount on your store very quickly, so it'll show like their average revenue that you have in stock. If you're having like billions in revenue because your quantity is like 100 every time, that's going to be a red flag, in my opinion. So keep this at 10. That's what I recommend. You could also go 5 or anywhere in between if you want, right? Now, we're going to come back to talk about the run bulk feature here after I actually show you how to list here a few times. But if in the future you want to run bulk, just remember you can't run bulk on anything. You have to come back into your settings and switch what the actual store is that you want to run bulk on, okay? All Run Bulk does is, instead of copying it one at a time, it lets you copy listings, 5, 10, 50, 100 at a time. But again, I'm going to show you that here in a second. Don't worry about selecting the country. Don't worry about running the monitor. I don't use that for this. I don't monitor any of my stock levels, so you don't really need to worry about that. Now, obviously, we're not dropshipping on Facebook here, but if you were dropshipping on Facebook Marketplace, you could set up your templates here. So hide from friends, automatically publish. You get the picture. And you can see as you scroll through, different stores have different settings that you can actually set up templates for, right? So if you're dropshipping on any one of those, then obviously you'd want to go through and make sure that you're doing those settings. But we are not. So what you want to do is you want to come down here and you want to go to show/hide buttons. And this makes it really easy to show what buttons and what stores you want to copy to, right? So if you want to copy Amazon listings to Poshmark, for example, well, make sure that Poshmark is clicked here. As you can see, Poshmark is clicked. I have all these stores clicked because I actually dropship on and list to all of these. And ZDrop integrates with every one of these stores if you have it clicked, right? But if you don't want to jumble up your feed, so obviously you can see all these buttons, or you're just focused on dropshipping on Poshmark, Mercari, and Facebook Marketplace, whatever the case is, then just select those buttons. It's going to make your life a lot easier because it's not going to confuse you or your virtual assistant if you ever decide to hire and outsource in the future, right? So that's the run of how to set up the settings. Again, all the buttons to where you want to dropship from based on the actual stores that you're listing on. And then the basics are just set your profit, set your quantity, and then come back over on the bulk feature after I show you 1 or 2 listings, right? So once you set it up, it's just as easy as being on the listing, whether it's Walmart, whether it's Amazon, where it's wherever. If you need to know the actual sites that ZDrop integrates with, just go to zdrop.com. You see that they support all of these marketplaces. As you can see, Poshmark is on here. It also supports all of these, so you can copy from any of the sites. I'll show you them here in a second, of the hundreds of sites that they actually copy products from, to any of the marketplaces that they copy products to. So you could take any of these. For example, you could copy IKEA to Poshmark. You could copy IKEA to Mercari, IKEA to eBay, IKEA to Facebook, IKEA to Shopify. You get the picture, right? You could also copy Kmart to any one of those. So you can copy any one of these stores to any one of those marketplaces. It is a game changer. You just need to make sure that you're on the listing on one of the websites that it lets you, and obviously have this button checked off in the back end of your settings in ZDrop. and you can copy those products, right? And it's just going to copy the title, like I said, the description, the pictures, and mark the price up automatically based on what you set that percentage to be when you set up your settings. Again, I did 75%. So let's go to a listing here. Obviously, you want to do product research and you want to make sure that you're listing hot in-demand products. But then it's really easy, right? You're just going to click the copy to Poshmark button, let it run. It's going to bring Poshmark up automatically. Obviously, you need to be signed into that website already, so sign into your Poshmark account. You'll see it pops up with a paste by Z-drop. Click paste by Z-drop. It's going to take 10 to 15 seconds roughly to copy everything over. You can see it copies everything else fast, and then it copies the picture a little bit slower, so give it like 10, 15 seconds per listing. As soon as the pictures pop up, then you can accept them, and then you know you're ready to move through and edit the listing. So there we go, the pictures. You can obviously make sure the best picture's in the front. If you want to switch up the picture, you just drag it as the actual picture right here with the check mark, apply it, or you could also drag them here later on. And then you just want to go through and you want to edit everything around, right? So you need to take 45 characters out of this title because it can't be greater than 80 characters. So I'm going to cap it at 10 right there. You will be slow in the beginning when you don't know how to actually go through and make these listings a little bit easier. But as you do a few of them, you'll get very quick at it very fast. Like I can probably list manually copying from like Amazon or Walmart to Poshmark realistically in like 30 seconds a listing. You just have to kind of know what to look for and be very quick at it, and Poshmark helps you do that. So does the bulk feature. I'll show you that shortly. And then you just want to make sure that anything in the description isn't giving any money back guarantees, any brand information for that actual brand, or any warranty information or anything like that. Now, typically speaking on Amazon, that's going to be the last bullet point most of the time, not always, but most of the time. So just take a look at the actual description. Obviously, check to make sure that there's no warranty, no brand information, no money back guarantees, nothing about it being an Amazon product. And then if not, you're good. Just keep everything else in there and delete all the things that you need to out of the description. Category, you just categorize it. So what is this? Obviously, it's a sign. So just find the best category. Again, you will be slower at finding categories in the beginning, but as you do 5, 10, 15 products, you will know immediately, oh, it's this category and how to find them so much faster. So you will be slow in the beginning. That is fine. You will get faster, I promise you. This is like second nature now. I can list on all these platforms super fast. So this is a tin sign. You could put it in other. You could put it in home, wall decor, other. You get the picture. I'm probably going to choose wall decor here, and we'll say art and decals. Now, multi-item, I always say 10. Is this new with tags since we're drop shipping new products? Obviously it is. The brand, if you're drop shipping third-party products from Amazon, I wouldn't worry about putting the brand in. The only time you want to put the brand in is if it's a popular, recognizable brand and you're reselling most of the time, because then it's going to bring eyes to that listing because it's a popular brand, right? Nike, Adidas, DeWalt, stuff like that. But if you're drop shipping a product with a popular brand name, you probably don't want to put the brand name in there because then people are just going to price check it on other websites. So most of the time I leave the brand blank. I also typically leave the color blank, although if it's something specific where you're drop shipping clothing on Poshmark or something of the sort, you could obviously add the color. That's going to help increase your conversion rate, help give the buyer more information about the product, and help decrease the friction to the sale. Now, tags, you always want to put tags in here. So what is this? It's a sign, it's decor. And if you need ideas for the keywords to put in there, you can just look through the description or the title and find what to actually put, right? So I'm going to say Halloween is another one. It doesn't just have to be like one keyword as well. You can put multiple keywords. So you could have Halloween sign, enter, and then your keyword would be Halloween sign. So anytime someone types Halloween sign in, yours is going to have a higher likelihood to pop up. You get the picture, right? Now, original price and listing price, I always put original price at 0, and I put the listing price based on what it marks up at, right? Because it's going to mark both of those up. You can see this is $8 on Amazon. It marked it up 75%, which is $14. Another rule of thumb for me is if it's always, I tell my VAs this as well, in the beginning, you will not have a VA. You won't be outsourcing any of the listing. You're going to be doing this yourself. It's going to go so fast with the bulk feature. But as a rule of thumb, I typically put the listing price if it's under $25 just to make an extra markup on the profit, because I don't want to do the legwork for like $3 or like $2 often. I'll always put anything that's under $25 as the listing price after Z-Drop marks it up to $25 minimum. I don't sell anything under $25 unless I'm getting an offer or my offer bot is making an offer. That's the only time where I'll actually accept something lower than that. And then we just list, right? I always keep the original price 0 and the listing price at what I actually want it to be.
I find that that looks better. Some people try to actually put the original price higher and the listing price lower. What that does is it puts the price on the listing, crosses it out, and makes it look like $25 is the sale going on. I find that it doesn't increase conversion rate. It actually has the opposite effect. So I like the clean look of having 0 as the original price, so it doesn't look like it's on sale. This is the price of the item. It's brand new. This is what it's worth. And then obviously let your offer bot do the work, let your share bot do the work so that you're getting more sales. And again, we're going to cover all of that later on, so do not worry. And then you just next and list it. Boom, list the item. If it pops up with any warning here, perfect example, fragile item detected, oversized item detected, just publish the listing anyway, don't worry about it. And there you go, we listed our first item, right? So let's list one more and then I'll show you how the actual bulk lister works. So copy to Poshmark, there it goes, it copies to Poshmark. As soon as the paste button pops up here, we'll paste by ZDrop, give it 10-15 seconds to copy over, and then as soon as the pictures pop up, we know it's fully copied and we can just add the pictures and then move on to editing the listing. There we go. Now apply them. Again, make sure the best picture's in the front. First thing we're going to do is come down here and edit the title. I typically take the brand name out. So if there's a brand name in the beginning, as you can see, Goose right there, I'll take that out. We'll start taking out some here at the title. So there we go. Title done. Now again, you're going to want to go through the actual description and make sure that there's no warranty, brand information, anything about it selling on Amazon, any money back guarantees. As long as there's nothing in there, you can obviously keep the majority of it. Just read through really quickly, make sure all that's not in there. So if it's a description like this, where obviously A, we're way over the actual character limit of 1,500, and we need to take a bunch out. But B, a lot of this won't really help you typically make more sales. Obviously, the more keywords in there, the higher likelihood it's going to show up for a number of things. But typically speaking, the actual main description is going to be good, so I'll delete all that. Obviously, the last bullet point here has nothing about brand warranty or money back guarantee, so we're good. Then we're going to list this. So this is home decor. I'm going to say holiday because it's holiday decor, and there we listed it, right? And there we categorized it. Now, multi-item, 10. If it's obviously a clothing item, then you want to add another size, put like small, medium, whatever the size availability is. I typically avoid myself clothing items, although clothing items sell well on Poshmark. That's because I have a VA that does it full-time every single day, so they'll list the clothing items for me, but obviously that's going to take a little bit more time. Clothes are a great thing to get into. They do take a little bit longer to list because obviously you had to add the variations and the sizes, but they do sell well on Poshmark as well, so play around with what works best for you and what's the best allocation of your time. In the beginning, you probably don't want to do clothes if you're trying to get to that $1,000 a month mark, but again, once you get there, by all means start adding clothes. Outsource to a virtual assistant to list for you. But that's something that we can talk about once you get there as the next step. Let's get you to that 1,000 first. New with tags, yes. Add this item to your boutique, yes. Brand, again, we always keep that blank most of the time. You probably will too most of the time. Color, you could add it if you want to, but again, I keep that blank most of the time. This is a spider. It's a Halloween decoration. And we'll look for one more keyword in the actual listing. So inflatable or yard blow up is a good one as well. There we go. Original price is going to be 0. I'm going to leave the listing price 47 because it already marked it up 75% from 27 to 47. So obviously there's that built-in price there, right? It also tells you what you're going to make after all the Poshmark fees are taken out if you sell it at $47. So you know that if you sell this at $47, you're going to make $37.60. You're going to buy it from Amazon at $27. So you will be making a little bit over $10 if you sell this on Poshmark. And that is how you list on Poshmark with ZDrop. It is that simple, okay? So now let me show you how the bulk list feature works. So the bulk list feature is going to save you so much time. It's going to list all these products really quickly, so you don't have to wait here as they're listing. Click one over to list it, and then click paste by ZDrop. Wait 15 seconds for it to list the actual pictures, and then click and go through it, right? The bulk list feature is going to actually pop them all up on Poshmark for you automatically. You need to obviously give it the time to list, but the benefit of it is you can go off and do something else in your business. You can go off and eat lunch. You could take a walk. Whatever the case is, you can move about your life, come back 20, 30 minutes later, depending on how many listings you actually added to your bulk list, and then it will do it all for you. And then you just need to come back. You can X out of all the Amazon tabs and then edit each listing just like you would have before, but now you can edit them all in once instead of waiting for them all to copy. It's a game changer, okay? So to add the bulk list feature, again, we need to go back into settings to make sure that we haven't changed it to Facebook Marketplace or Mercari. If you wanted a bulk list there, you would, again, just change the settings. So go back to settings, go to the run bulk / multiple listings here, and make sure whatever store that you actually want to run bulk on is selected there, okay? So we want to list it on Poshmark, so make sure it's checked. It is. And then when you're done, obviously, one thing I forgot to say is make sure that you save your button status right here with this button and save this after you change it. Otherwise, it will just go back to the default. So save your button status after you obviously select which stores you want the buttons to be, whichever the blue ones are. Save your button status. Whenever you make a change to the percentage, or in this case, the run bulk feature or whatever, so it saves it to your actual settings, and then you're good to go. If you don't save it, it will just go back to the default, okay? So now that we've changed the actual bulk feature to do it for Poshmark, now we can go back to these, and now instead of copying to Poshmark, we are going to save them to the bulk list, okay? And the bulk list is going to be up here on ZDrop. If you go to ZDrop and bulk, there we go. There's 2 in the bulk list already. So we're going to save to the bulk list. There we go. Let it work. As soon as the pictures go, it's saved to the bulk list. Now, if we come back to the bulk list, you can see there's 3 in there with this product in there now. X out of that. And now we're going to save all of these to the bulk list if we wanted just the bulk to do it for us. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. And you can do this with 10 products, 20 products, 50 products. I typically don't recommend people go over 50 products, obviously, because sometimes it can lag out. So the magic number is roughly 50 products, but obviously you could try it a little bit further if you wanted to go a little bit further than that. But listing 50 products at a time is going to be very quickly. With that, you can get a few hundred products up in a day if you really want to get it done, or even 1,000, honestly, if you're really kind of working through it. And get a lot of products very quickly and make some decent money, assuming you're sharing and listing good products, of course. But this is going to change the game for you because you can list products so much faster now, right? So now if I want to actually run the bulk list, you can see it added all of those products to it. I'm going to come back, select all, and then run the bulk list. I'm going to show you that here in a second, actually running and how you can edit it. But keep in mind, every single time you want to add new products to a bulk list, after you list all those, come back and delete all the products in this bulk list, right? By clicking the actual trash bin next to it, and then it will delete that product. There you saw that disappeared. Delete that product. There you saw it disappeared, right? So I want to list these all in bulk. I'm going to select them all and then run bulk and just go about my life, right? As soon as I click run bulk, you see it go. It's going to start listing the product by copying the first item in the bulk list to Poshmark. And the benefit is I don't need to be here doing this myself. It's going to do it all for me. And then again, leave the Poshmark windows up with all the information and all the pictures and the markup there. So I can just come back when I'm ready, edit everything around like I showed you before, submit the listing. It goes so much faster that way. All right, guys. So use this. It's going to change the game for you. This is how you drop ship products from Amazon, Walmart, eBay, Etsy, wherever, on the Poshmark, on the Facebook Marketplace, on wherever. Again, just check ZDrop. If it fits with that website to that website, you can list it. Hope it helps.
So what's the best way to do product research when you're selling or drop shipping on Poshmark? Now, there's many different ways, and my best tried and true method is just list a bunch of different things that obviously you have a decent idea will do well at that current time period. So for example, right now we're in summer, so you want to list like light clutch purses or bathing suits or coolers, things that go along with that. As we move forward into fall and winter, you're going to want to list things like coats, pants, heavier stuff, jackets. And so you want to use that and kind of test different things. And then once you see something that works for you, then double down and list more things like that, just different variations. But if you want a tried and true method that's actually working for what's selling currently on the platform right now, what you can do is you can reverse engineer other people's best listings and then list stuff like that. So if you're really strapped for ideas and you don't want to do like the throw shit at a wall and see what sticks approach, then what you can do is you can find closets that are selling well on the platform by just finding a shop that actually has a lot of listings. As you can see, this one right here has 24,813 listings and a decent amount of sales. And then you scroll down to availability right here and you click on sold items, and it will tell you all their sold items. And you can just scroll down, see what they've sold, and then list certain things like that, or even list that exact item if you can find the supplier, right? Now, it's not always going to be a drop shipper. If it is a drop shipper, this one looks like they probably are a drop shipper. So then in that case, we could reverse engineer their listing, list the same thing since we know that at least there's some kind of demand on the platform currently. For example, this leather case for like watch boxes sold twice recently, as we can see here. And so if we reverse engineer where this listing is, we can list that same exact product from that same exact supplier. Paste that into Amazon. I bet you it's probably an Amazon listing. There it is right there. Yep, it's that one right there. So this person's literally selling this for $69 on Poshmark. It sells on Amazon for $29. So after fees, they're probably making $15, $20 profit on this just selling this, right? Now, if you're not sure if it's selling on Amazon or Walmart Plus, then what you can do instead is you just download one of the pictures, try a couple different ones. Obviously, the main one's going to be pretty easy to find as well. And then you just reverse image search it in Google, and I bet you we find that same exact listing. So put that one into Google, see what pops up, and let's see if it finds the listing for us. It found one on Amazon.sa, found one on Amazon.in and Amazon.uk, found the same one on eBay and Etsy, but for whatever reason, it found one on Walmart, so this also might be on Walmart as well. And it did not it did find the Amazon one. There we go. So it's also selling right here on Amazon. It looks like a similar one. This is not the same one, but it is also selling on Walmart, but it's out of stock. So that's what I'd recommend for you. You either go down and literally list the same exact products if you want to take the time to reverse engineer where their supplier is, because you know that they're already selling, or you just see what type of items they're selling and list products similar to that. So if you're strapped for ideas, like what could you list? Well, you could list smaller trash cans like this, metal trash cans, or you could list charging stands for PS5 controllers, or you could list cufflinks, or you could list, polarized sunglasses or watches like this in this price range. And so this is a really good way to do product research on Poshmark. In my opinion, doing like the throw shit at a wall and seeing what sticks approach is best, because it doesn't take as much time with something like Z-Drop. You can just bulk list a bunch of different things. And then if a few things sell, list more like that. But this works really, really well. It just takes a little bit more time to find the suppliers. But just like product research on any other marketplace, once you do, then you can list that and you can even undercut them as well. So if somebody is looking for this exact product and now instead of listing it for $69, which clearly it's selling on Poshmark, we can list it for $65, undercut them, and then make like $10 profit instead of their $15 profit. And now we're taking all the sales and all the profit from them. So try this out. It works really well.
So this is going to be a brief Posh Sidekick tutorial. Once you download Posh Sidekick, it all happens natively on your phone automatically. So you no longer have to manage anything. I used to use Simple Posher, still do in conjunction with this, but Simple Posher is 90%, maybe 95% automated. You still have to kind of auto capture some things. You still have to make sure that it's running, that it didn't get stopped, that it didn't lag out. It's great. Don't get me wrong. Obviously it costs $10. This is a next step up in a lot of ways because it allows you to auto share all day. You don't have to focus on it yourself. You can just let it do its job. It also will auto offer, which is another really cool feature. So as you can see on mine, if we click into the shares, we go last 7 days, it's shared roughly 9,000 every single day, which is what I set it to. Self shares is pretty much all of those. Community shares is a little bit more from parties. It's only done 200 today, so obviously we'll pick that back up, but I did just shut this off because I'm going to be on vacation for about a week, so it's probably not sharing as many today for that reason as well. You can also have it unfollow as well. You could also see how much revenue it's brought in for that specific day with those bar charts. You could also have it make offers. So if you click into the offers, you can see how many offers it made and what revenue was as a result of those specific offers. It's a great product. It's automated completely. You don't have to focus on it, right? So if you want to set this up, you can sign up through the link attached to this lecture. If you want to see the activities that your actual closet has done, you can go to activities on the bottom and scroll through and see how many offers it's made, how many follows it's initiated, how many shares, and what it's shared specifically, right? If you want to make sure that you set it up correctly, just click settings up in the top left right there. So that little settings icon, then you can select how you want it to actually operate, right? So do you want it to sell share? Do you want it to party share? You don't want it to share from parties, you just X that off. You don't want it to share from communities, you want it to all be self-shared, then you just obviously uncheck that, right? If you want it to share back, you toggle that on. It's very self-explanatory. You can also set it to randomize sharing order, share by category. So I typically have it self-share only. I will toggle party share on every once in a while and community share on every once in a while just to change it up. But usually speaking, I just have self-share on, randomized sharing, and I have it up to 9K. You don't have to start there. If you have a closet with, a few hundred listings or a few thousand listings in the beginning, don't share that much. Totally fine. Especially if you're just starting to share that much, you definitely don't want to do that. So I would start slow for about a week, then medium for the next week on week 2, and then up it to 9 on week 3. Obviously, if you're just getting into sharing and using share bots, right? But I obviously have have it up to the 9K because I've been doing it for a while. I also have it unfollowing people. I don't have it following. I don't have it following back. I have it unfollowing people just because I've followed so many people in the past thinking that that was a good strategy. It doesn't really matter anymore on the way that Poshmark is set up right now. So don't really worry about it too much. If you want to make bundle offers to likers, you could also set that up. I don't do that because I drop ship products, so I want to maintain my margin on every single product that I'm making an offer for. But I do have it offering to likers. So if you have it offering to likers, it will go through your actual products, the people that have liked that listing. It will make auto offers to those people based on who's actually liked that listing. So it is a game changer because obviously it increases urgency for the timed offer, but it also decreases the price as well based on what you set it as. So it's going to increase your sales with these timed offers to people that are clearly interested in that product. It's a game changer, okay? So if you want to do that, you just toggle on offers to likers. You can set the listing percentage discount. Again, if you're drop shipping, if you're not drop shipping, then obviously this doesn't matter to you clearly. But if you are drop shipping, then you want to make sure that your percentage that you're offering is accounted for in your profit margin, right? Because if you're only marking your products up, say 30% or 40%, and Poshmark is taking that high fee already, you're not really going to have much built-in margin to make more offers percentage to likers, right? So make sure you're marking your products up enough initially ahead of time. I typically mark mine up 75%, so I have plenty of wiggle room in my margin to make these offers to likers, and that's why I suggest that. So you could set it to whatever you want there, percentage-based wise. The lowest amount that you can set, I believe, is 10%. The lowest amount of shipping discount you can offer is $4.99, and so those two are the lowest that I have set in there. I typically have send intervals every 5 minutes. You could change that if you wanted to. You can make it 15 minutes. 30 minutes, an hour. I typically like to make the most offers possible, so I have the send intervals at 5 minutes, right? If you want to make offers for specific categories or set specific rules, you can do that. I don't really do that. And you can also set it to make counter offers if people make offers to you as well. Now, I relist products as well. I make sure that that's the way that I can obviously keep items fresh. If they're sitting at the bottom of my closet and they haven't necessarily got a share in a while, I'll make sure to relist them. It's just a different way to get more visibility on products that have kind of died out and haven't really got much sales. Although keep in mind that if you're not monitoring your stock levels, you may or may not want to toggle this on or off based on the fact that like maybe those products have gone out of stock or changed prices if it's been a long time. So keep that in mind. Although I use it, if it starts to be a problem, just turn it off. I'd recommend that you start with it. Again, you could always cancel that order if you need to, and then just turn it off. No big deal, right? And you can see as you scroll through here, it's really self-explanatory. Do you want to share? Automatically? If so, how much? If so, when? To who? To what? To parties, right? Or whatever. Do you want to make offers? Again, just toggle that on. Do you want it to auto follow? Toggle that on. And as you go through the settings, it's really easy, really self-explanatory to set that up. Another really cool thing that they have in the app and actually on their website is tutorials. So if you need tutorials of how to actually set this up yourself, just go to the website or go to the app. You can watch all the tutorials as well, and they'll walk you through literally everything. But I can't recommend this app enough. This is great. It's the best app that I found to automate the sharing and the likers of your closet and make those automated offers to likers, Can't recommend this enough. This in conjunction with Simple Posture have driven my sales through the roof.
All right, so I really briefly want to talk about making offers to likers to drive more sales, but obviously your bot should be doing this automatically. So I will link Posh Sidekick again to this lecture. It is a no-brainer. If you're not using an automation bot of some sort, obviously I think Posh Sidekick is the best, but hands down, I use it myself. You're really going to get left behind. You're going to struggle to make sales here, and you're really kind of trying to fight with one hand, handcuffed. Honestly, both hands handcuffed behind your back. You're really going to struggle. So you should be using a bot. But to explain why it is advantageous is obviously the sharing, like we talked about before, but also because you can make offers to likers. So this is a really great way that you can convert a ton of people into buyers that were interested, because a lot of people, like, they'll go through, this is a bad example, but like, as you can see, like, there's a ton of clothes on Poshmark, right? So if I'm scrolling Poshmark and I like some shoes, or I like, a shirt, or whatever the case is, they like something, a lot of people will like it. They might not purchase it right that second. So they'll just like the listing, right? As you can see. But what the thing is they might like it to pin it, but then they might never come back and buy it. So you can constantly stay notifying them if you just make offers to likers, right? So if you click offer or price drop, there's two ways that you can do this. So you can edit the listing publicly, obviously just edit it and then drop it a certain percentage, and it will then hold a quote unquote public sale and then tell everybody that the price has dropped, right? So it will tell all the likers that the price has dropped, but it will also be a little bit higher in search results. It will also be a little bit more discoverable on the platform, especially within search for that certain 24-hour window, because you just dropped the price, right? So it will rank higher in search, but it will also notify likers. I don't really ever do this. You can. But what I do all the time is make offers to likers or hold a quote unquote private sale, right? So this is a bad example because there's one person that likes this, but for like often on listings that have been around in a while, like this was literally just listed yesterday. On listings that were around for a while, you'll have 10, 20, 30 likers sometimes, maybe even 5 likers, whatever the case is. But that's, 20 potential people that could buy this. And so what you're going to do is make an offer to liker. And then you're going to make the offer. So this price is $38. You could drop this to like $30 with discounted shipping. You can make no discount shipping. You can make $4.99 shipping, which is a discount of shipping. Then obviously just takes that out of your specific earnings. And then you could also offer free shipping, which will drop this a lot more, right? So we'll tell you what you will make, right? Now, I typically don't offer discounted shipping. I'll just drop the price a certain percentage, knowing that, I factored in, like maybe I mark my prices up 60%, 80, whatever the case is. And obviously, if you're reselling, it's going to be slightly different from you. But you can make offers to likers to then drive urgency and a timed offer. So it simulates value because this is worth, whatever the case is, $38 here on Poshmark. This person has liked this. So if you make an offer at like 29 with discounted shipping or even no discounted shipping, then obviously that simulates more value because they're getting it for a cheaper price, even though it's the same item. And it simulates urgency, which is one of the key things to make a sale very, very easily because you're timing the offer. It expires in 24 hours and it will notify them via email and on the platform. And every Poshmark buyer has email that is literally attached. So she'll get notified. And again, if there's 20 people that have liked this listing, 20 people will get notified like, hey, this has just dropped X amount of percentage with discounted shipping, but it's only for the next 24 hours. So it simulates urgency and increases the perceived value of that, for the next 24 hours. It will increase the potential that one of those people will buy this product or any of your products within that certain 24-hour window. That's why it's really advantageous, and that's why you should do it. Always make offers to likers. But again, in the past, you used to have to go through and literally do this manually like I'm showing you, but you don't have to do that anymore. Your bot should be doing this all day long. Again, sharing all day long, making offers to likers all day long, and that is really going to drive a ton of sales. So don't sleep on that, but also, like I said, definitely don't sleep on the bots. Posh Sidekick, get it. It's a no-brainer.
Now that we've talked about platforms like Poshmark and how different marketplaces operate, I want to introduce you to another platform that I personally believe is one of the most underrated opportunities in e-commerce right now, and that platform is Mercari. Now, if you've never used Mercari before, maybe you've never even heard of it, or you've never really taken it seriously, even though you have, which is a lot of people, then you might be surprised just how much opportunity actually exists on this platform. Mercari has grown tremendously over the past several years, and today there are millions of active buyers that are shopping and using the app and the website every single month. Now, people are buying everything from clothing to electronics to collectibles to toys to home goods to power tools to just about every category that you can imagine. But what makes Mercari, in my opinion, especially interesting is the stage that the marketplace is currently in, okay? So compared to other platforms like Amazon or eBay, Mercari is still relatively in its early life cycle, right? So it's not as big as those. On Amazon and eBay, you're often competing against massive professional sellers, brands, warehouses, extremely established businesses. Same thing with eBay. Like a lot of times if you're competing on, high margin things or great opportunities, there's another seller that obviously recognizes that's more experienced, or at least the same experience level as you. And so the competition is a lot higher. Those platforms are incredibly powerful, don't get me wrong, but they also feel very crowded in a lot of ways. Mercari, on the other hand, still feels very much accessible to almost everybody, okay? In many ways, I like to describe it kind of as like a baby eBay, meaning that it has a lot of the same potential and the same buyer demand for a lot of different items in a lot of capacities, right? Not just one specific niche, but there's not nearly the level of saturation and not nearly the level of competition, speaking from experience. And this creates a unique window of opportunity, especially right now. You are stepping into a marketplace that already has some serious traffic and has a very active buyer base, but hasn't yet become completely dominated by massive or professional sellers or big brands
at all, okay? It's still not in its infancy, but it's in like its like toddlerhood maybe. And so there's incredible growth opportunities still right there where there's not a ton of competition. And that means individual resellers like you or like me still have a very real chance to stand out, to gain a lot of traction relatively fast, and to build momentum very quickly. Now, another reason I like Mercari so much and why I think it's a great platform, especially for newer sellers, is how simple it is to use, to get started, to list, to do everything on the platform. You don't need a warehouse. You don't need employees. You don't need huge upfront investments at all. You don't need a PhD in how to manage the platform like you might on Amazon, for example, or you might on, not necessarily Etsy, but like those are two examples of the ones that are like a little bit more complicated. Definitely Amazon for newer sellers. And in my opinion, it's a great place for people to start simply because you can list pretty much everything here and see success with it. So if you have stuff around the house, start listing it here and you might see some success pretty quickly. The old clothes, obviously you want to list them on somewhere like Poshmark as well, but Mercari, they can do extremely well. Electronics tend to sell really well here. Shoes fly off the shelves here. Power tools fly off the shelves here. Collectibles, household items, pretty much anything, things that you no longer use. It's a great way to get your first sales and get started so that you can kind of see the opportunity that lies here and then build on something bigger. It's going to inspire you to keep listing more. Once you list a few things and start to get some traction, you will literally see the views, the likes on your items, and then obviously from there, the floodgates open, right? And you get a little bit more inspired. Now, once people begin seeing how the platform works and how quickly items can sell there, they start exploring other sourcing methods and start to scale. So maybe you're going to, start thrifting if that's your thing. Maybe you're going to start doing retail or online arbitrage. Whatever the case is, maybe you're going to explore dropshipping, which is what I love, and a way that you can get access to thousands, if not tens of thousands of different products and list a ton of inventory without ever needing to actually buy it, which again is why I love that, especially for beginners. Wholesale is another option. We've covered a ton of them. But Mercari as a platform is extremely powerful because it gives you the flexibility to start small. Doesn't take much to learn the platform at all. It's super easy to use, like I said, and you can gradually scale your business as you gain experience here. You're going to see a ton of sales from this platform. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites. Now, another thing that I really like about this is how straightforward it is operationally, okay? It handles all the payment processing for you, so you don't have to worry about like collecting weird payments from buyers after the fact or anything like that. They're going to give you prepaid labels if you want to use those, which obviously simplifies fulfillment. If you have, a dropshipping partner, or you have a warehouse partner, or whatever the case is, and you want to use your own tracking, you can do that as well. So you can input tracking numbers, or you can use their own labels. Again, in this specific section on Mercari, I will give you multiple different methods that I use personally with both the actual labels and with like your own tracking numbers. So all that's coming, but it is extremely valuable and extremely easy to use for new sellers. And they have built-in protections for both you as a seller, but also for the buyer, which is great because then obviously then they can shop with confidence. So if they deal with like another nefarious seller, you don't have to worry about that, as you a seller on there, okay? And if you're doing anything crazy or anything bad on some of these platforms, like you'll get weeded out fast anyway, so you don't have to worry about that, all right? That's going to help reduce the risks that sometimes exist with an online marketplace that, you might be uncomfortable with, right? So, for example, there was a time where like if you sold something on, especially Amazon, even still today, but even like on eBay, like where you sold something and like the buyer could claim some BS reason that like it was broken or whatever and ship you something back that wasn't the same, like, and you'd be out, hundreds of dollars or doesn't, like whatever the case is, like that is not the case on Mercari. That is not the case on Poshmark. That is not the case on a lot of these websites. There are built-in seller protections, so you don't have to worry. And the refund policies are actually pretty seller friendly as long as you're not scamming somebody, sending them a bad product that's broken, sending them a product that doesn't match the description. Generally speaking, there are some, specific nuances here and sometimes where it won't be the case. But generally speaking, if somebody files for return, they typically side with you if the item is in the right condition that you listed it and it matches the description, right? If the buyer just wants to return it because they don't like it or maybe whatever the case is, generally speaking, Mercari has a lot of stopgaps in place to protect you, okay? And that means one thing, that you can actually focus on the reselling aspect and growing your business instead of feeling like you kind of got one-upped on and, you don't trust buyers on the website anymore. Now, finding products, creating listings, all that, like getting listings in front of buyers, it's all super simple on this platform. Ultimately, generating sales and obviously benefiting from the sales as well and managing all your sales, very easy on this platform. And just like with other marketplaces that we talked about in this course, success on Mercari isn't just about listing random items and hoping they sell, although you can do that in the beginning to just kind of build some momentum. There are definitely strategies involved. I will share them all in this module with you. Things like writing SEO-friendly listings so that your products actually get discovered and they convert, potential interested people into buyers. Pricing products intelligently, again, so they attract different buyers. Understanding how buyers are browsing and searching on the platform. Using offers, which is a major driver of conversions and one of the biggest factors to my sales. I'm going to teach you how to automate that completely. So as you start to list more and more and your offer bot is going, you will make a ton of sales, I promise you. And then understanding how the buyer behavior works on the platform and what they're actually looking for. When you combine all those strategies with good inventory and consistent listings and your offer bot, you're going to have a crazy amount of chances to get your items discovered in search, get them discovered in browsing when people are on the app or the website, and generate consistent sales here. And the timing for reselling in general couldn't be better, especially here. We are living in what I truly believe is a golden era for online reselling. Consumers today are more comfortable buying secondhand items online or even new items online from marketplaces like Mercari and elsewhere than they ever have before. They're looking for deals, yes, but they're also looking for unique things. They're looking for something specifically to solve their problem. They're looking for discounted products, whatever the case is, and they're more comfortable shopping online than the generation before them. 10 years ago, shopping online was here, obviously, but it wasn't to the extent that it was 3 years ago, right? Or even last year, or even today. All that demand creates a ton of opportunity for resellers, and Mercari sits right in the middle of all of that opportunity. So if you position yourself on the platform correctly, you can absolutely carve out a massively profitable business here. And throughout the rest of this module, I'm going to cover a ton of different things, from strategies that I use to breaking down exactly how Mercari works and how you can take advantage of the opportunity on here for offers and a number of other things, what to actually sell here, how to approach it, all of that good stuff, right? We'll talk about setting up your account a little bit, creating listings that actually get found and generate sales, sourcing products that perform well on the platform, and what, based on past experience I've seen is the case for different niches and stuff like that, and building systems that are going to allow you to scale your inventory and your sales over time without any extra effort on your part, okay? Now, Mercari is a marketplace with a lot of potential, and it can become a powerful part of your reselling strategy, but you have to master it. So with that said, we're going to dive into the next lecture and start exploring how the Mercari platform actually works and what makes listings actually successful here on the platform so you can get a ton of sales.
So in this lecture, I'm going to teach you how to drop ship on Mercari. Mercari is one of those, a lot like Poshmark, that is super promising if you're doing retail drop shipping. Now, there are a few things, just like Poshmark, that you need to understand if you plan on drop shipping on Mercari effectively. But if you start drop shipping on Mercari, there's no reason that you can't be making a few $1,000s a month or two from now if you scale it up the correct way with the correct products and you don't try to jump the gun, okay? I'm going to outline 2 ways that you can do it effectively here in this tutorial, but just understand the nuances of Mercari and then scale consistently and you'll be fine. Now, there's 2 main ways that you're able to dropship on Mercari, okay? So the first is direct to the customer, just like anything else, right? So if we're on Facebook Marketplace, for example, we've covered like how you can just list products and then ship them directly to the customer from your supplier and then input the tracking number. You don't actually have to be the middleman. You can do the same thing on Mercari. However, there are some nuances involved with that, okay? You need images, first and foremost, that don't look stock photo-y, because on Mercari, they're really touchy about stock photos being in your listing, okay? I used to recommend that you only need 1 review image on the front, and then the rest can be stock images, and that can still work to a certain degree, but I would take it a step further even, and just go all review images or all photos that look like they've been taken by an actual person on an actual camera that don't look stock photo-y, a lot like this, right? This is an example of a listing with a lot of stock photos that you wouldn't be able to get away with. Same thing with like any Amazon listing. Like, for example, if we were trying to list this fish oil right here and Mercari sees this, they're going to flag you. You're going to get a notification that you violated their policy, and too many policy violations will eventually lead to an account suspension, all right? So it's not worth it. Just scale slowly, do it with the right products, and you'll be totally fine. Now, there's 2 main ways that I do it. Mainly with eBay, I'll do it directly to the customer. The key is finding listings on eBay that don't look too stock photo-y and actually have pictures that look like somebody took them themselves, right? So this pull-ups right here is a perfect example of an image that it looks like somebody actually took themselves on their computer, right? This pull-ups right here, not one of those. This one is one of those. It looks like somebody kind of took it themselves, right? This one, again, looks like somebody took it themselves. This one kind of looks like somebody took it themselves. This one does not, right? It's too stock photo-y, okay? And the reason I like it with eBay is because if you're shipping directly to a customer on Mercari specifically, you don't want to run into issues where you need to use a taco tracking number. It can work, but long-term, inevitably, it's going to piss some customers off. And since it's against Mercari's terms of service to actually do so, you don't want to get in trouble and get caught doing that. So I recommend going with somebody, if you're shipping directly to the customer, going with somewhere like eBay where you know these are third-party sellers and they're going to be using a USPS, a FedEx, or a UPS tracking number, so you're fine. So as long as you're using something like eBay or somewhere where you know that they're going to use one of those three main carriers that you can then input into Mercari, and your listing has images that don't look like they're stock photos and look like you took them yourselves, then you'll be totally fine. I've only really identified eBay as being a place like that, all right? So for example, if I wanted to list this on Mercari, I wouldn't because it doesn't have multiple quantity on eBay. The toughest part about finding listings on eBay are finding listings that are high quality, that have the information and good quality pictures that don't look stock photo-y. That's number one. And number two, obviously, once that is the case, you need to find something that with multiple quantity so it doesn't become out of stock before you can sell it, and then it ends up being a headache anyway, right? So this one only has one left, but again, that's an example of a stock photo one. This one is a perfect example of one that has multiple quantity. I can mark up, sell on Mercari, and it looks like the photos have been taken by somebody literally on a table. It does not look stock photo-y, right? This is another perfect example of one that we could list right here. This is another perfect example of pictures that we could list right here. Same thing with this one, right? So it really just becomes the nuance of finding these type of listings on eBay. With a little bit of searching around, you can find them relatively easy. I just wanted to hit that home in the beginning because that is the most important thing that you need to understand if you want to be successful long-term dropshipping on this platform. But it is a great platform with a lot of sales velocity, especially with the right products. Now, if I wanted to copy this to Mercari, I would just copy to Mercari. And since this specifically is eBay where I know that I'm shipping it directly to the customer, that's how I'd set this listing up. Now, right after this, I'm going to teach you, just like anything, right? You'd paste by Z-drop. Right after this eBay example, I'll do one more with you, and then I'll show you a different method that you can use. I utilize both of them. One from Amazon and Walmart, where I do the dropship arbitrage, and one from eBay, where I directly ship to customers. I'll list from both, and I'll do both. So as soon as this pastes in the pictures here, there we go. So now we have all the pictures. They don't look stock photo-y. We want to make sure that just like anything, you don't have anything about eBay in the description. A lot of things on eBay will potentially have eBay in the description. A lot of them will say like, find the best deals at eBay. Just make sure there's nothing about eBay in your description. That's again, another way that you can get flagged on Mercari. So just do like a Control F if you're on PC or a search function if you're on Mac. I don't know what the search function is. It's something similar. And then type in eBay and make sure that it does not say eBay on the page. So we're good there, all right? Now we add the hashtags. You would do the same thing. So you just add a few hashtags here. So we'd go like wall mount, tools, tool holder. This is not tools and collectible, or this is not toys and collectibles. It's tools and equipment. I'm going to say no brand, even though this is made for Ryobi. It's not Ryobi. It's made for Ryobi. It is new, and there is shipping. So keep that in mind with some eBay listings, there will be shipping, so just account for that in how much you mark it up, all right? But again, Z-Drop will automatically mark it up. This is another great platform that you can dropship on. Now, when we're doing it from eBay specifically, we're going to ship it to the customer directly, like I said, right? We're dropshipping it directly. So if that's what you're doing with eBay, you want to make sure that you have ship on your own selected, all right? And make sure that it marked it up. It did. It doubled the price almost, right? It marked it up. I have mine set to like 70% currently, but we also want to account for the shipping charge. So I'll mark it up a little bit more even, and I'll go $19. And now we know that we're paying $9.25 plus $3.25. So what is that, like $12.50? So $12.50 plus tax is probably, we'll say $13 $14.50 maybe. So I'm really only going to make like $2.50 if I mark this up. That's not really enough to kind of be worth it. So I'll mark this up to $25 and make sure that I'm making a little bit more. Again, the only reason that this comes into play is one, because they're shipping, and two, because this is a relatively cheap product. If you're using Z-Drop to mark up a product that's more expensive, for example, you're not really going to have to manually mark anything up because it's already going to mark it up a significant amount for you already. So you don't really need to worry about that, but only if you're really dealing with shipping or something that's relatively cheap. I'm going to turn smart pricing off because I don't want this on if I'm drop shipping directly. I don't want to monitor my prices, and then I'll simply list it. And so there, we listed that one in Mercari. Now let's show you another example of ones that we can and can't list. So this one, again, stock photos. Clearly, another reason you want to avoid this is because it has the Suzuki Parts Express brand name in that, so you don't want to list that because that could be an IP complaint, right? On Facebook and on Mercari. Always avoid brand names in the pictures and brand names if it's like a third-party seller in the title. You want to avoid those at all costs, all right? Plus, this only has one, but we wouldn't list it anyway because it has stock photos. Now, this is another example right here, something that you might want to list because it's not stock photos, but it is pre-owned, so keep that in mind if you're listing that as well. You can list pre-owned stuff, I do from time to time, and it can work, although keep in mind that you want to make sure that there's multiple quantities. So this one is a perfect example of something that looks like is not stock photos. You can clearly see somebody took this against a wood background. So it's going to look legit if we list it on Mercari. There is shipping, so we need to account for that. A lot of times there won't be on eBay, but just keep that in mind in case there is. So we're going to copy it to Mercari. There is multiple quantity, and then we're going to paste it by Z-Drop and wait for the pictures to come in. All right, there we go. So the title looks pretty good. It's already got no bad keywords in it or anything like that. We want to make sure that, again, there's no eBay in the description. So we're going to search for eBay on the page. Okay, no eBay, thank God. Now we're going to go Craftsman here. Because Craftsman is an actual brand, we don't need to worry about taking that out because it's not a third-party brand, right? It's a main brand that's going to help us get more eyes and visibility on this listing. So I'm going to keep it in there. I'm also going to use it as a hashtag. We're going to do tools and we'll go wrench. It looks like it's already been categorized in tools. Craftsman's already been branded. It is new. The color is red just because of the background's red, so we'll keep it there. Again, we're shipping it directly to the customer via eBay, so we're going to ship it on our own. Now, we need to obviously turn off smart pricing, and we want to make sure that we account for the $10 shipping. We don't forget that. So $10, so I'll mark it up another $10, and we'll go $49 just to stay under $50. Then we make sure I'm making $42. This is going to be $32 to ship, maybe a few more dollars, maybe like $2 more, so we'll say $34 if you account for tax, and that's totally fine. That's an $8 profit margin, so we'll list that. And that's how you can drop ship on Mercari directly to customers. Again, just make sure no stock photos in your listings, and use suppliers, especially like eBay, that you know are third-party sellers, so you know that they're going to use a USPS, a FedEx, or a UPS tracking number, right? Because if, for example, you would try to drop ship Amazon or Walmart, like I'm going to show you here in a second, or any of these other places directly to a customer, even if you were to use all review images, you might eventually run into an issue where you have a TBA tracking number on Amazon, or you have a DoorDash tracking number on Walmart. And that is something that you want to avoid on Mercari. They take that seriously, and all it takes is a customer to ask you that via messages, and then their algorithm will pick up on it very quickly. Or a customer to report it to Mercari in a case, and then again, Mercari takes that very seriously. So you don't want to go through that. Slow and steady scale, use eBay directly like I just showed you, or you can use Walmart and Amazon, but use Amazon Prime and Walmart Plus, and then order to you first and do the dropship arbitrage. So if I were going to do it from Amazon or Walmart, it's the same way on Walmart. You just grab the review images. I'll show you the same thing on Amazon. You just want to grab listings and only take listings with high quality review images that you can then use on your listing, and then you can use all the other information, copy it over with Z-Drop so that it stores the actual URL so you can go back to it, and then you order it to yourself first, use the Mercari label, charge the customer for shipping, and then ship it out with a Mercari label, a lot like you would do on Poshmark, a lot like you would do on OfferUp, and any other place where you need to do dropship arbitrage, right? So I don't always do this. A lot of times I'll ship directly with eBay, but I do list products that I know are hot selling products on Mercari like this, and it works very well. You just need to do the dropship arbitrage. Okay, we understand we need to do the dropship arbitrage. We understand that we need to find Amazon or Walmart listings with a lot of review images. How do we do that, right? Well, typically speaking, if you're finding high quality products that have a lot of reviews and have been on the platform for a while and are rated well, they're going to have good review images most of the time, right? So let's open this one. Let's open this one. Also keep in mind that if you're doing this with the dropship arbitrage, you might not want to dropship a desk, right? Or you might not want to do something like super big because you have to take that to the post office, to UPS or FedEx yourself. So keep it relatively small. It can still be something on the bigger end, like it can still be a bigger package, but just keep in mind that you have to take that to the actual post office or UPS or FedEx yourself and drop it off with the label. So let's go this one. We'll try this. Let's go these sunglasses. We'll try these. And we're just looking for images that have high quality review images that we can then list to Mercari. So the first thing you want to do is check if it has review images and if they're good. Can any of these be used on Mercari in your listing to sell the actual product, right? Well, some of them actually can. This is a pretty good picture. This is a pretty good picture. That's a pretty good picture. I'm going to take all of those, right? So what you can do then is you can just clip the review images. You'll also get more bang for your buck if you do this along with Depop and Vinted at the same time. So if you're grabbing these review images, don't just list this to Mercari, list it to Depop and Vinted as well. But I'll teach you Depop and Vinted coming in a few lectures. Just keep that in mind. And then you can list all of them very quickly because you'll have all those review images. So now that we grab those 3 review images, we can sell the listing because Mercari's not going to know that we don't have this and we're sourcing it from Amazon first because it looks like we took the images that we put on the listing. So we're going to copy this to Mercari, paste it by Z-Drop. Understand that when it copies it over, it is going to take all the other stuff, so it's going to save you a lot of time, but it is going to take the images in there. Now, I used to tell people to keep these in there and then just paste the review images in the front. I don't recommend that anymore. Just play it safe. It's better safe than sorry. Just delete them all. It's not necessary, and then upload your review images that you grab. And now drag the best one in the front, and that's a pretty solid listing. It looks like I took these myself, right? You might get the random message if you take a review image that looks high quality, like, hey, is this new? And you can just reiterate, like, yeah, this is brand new, never opened, like I just took the pic. There's the title, drag this down, make sure there's nothing about warranty information, brand information, money back guarantees, same as Facebook Marketplace. Does not look like it is. There's nothing about any brands, so we're going to drag this down. This is going to be sunglasses, glasses, we'll go shades. There we go. And we're going to say that these are men's sunglasses. These are not Dolce & Gabbana. They're no brand. They're new. I'm going to leave the color off just because I'm not sure if these are brown or black. I'd have to check. They look brown, so they might be brown. They are brown. All right, so we'll keep it brown. Then, since we're doing it from Amazon, we are not going to have ship it on our own, right? Because we're going to order it to ourselves first. We're going to use the Mercari label. We're going to do the dropship arbitrage. Now, with standard shipping, you can pick the specific shipping that you're going to choose, right? So how do you know what that is? You're going to choose a prepaid label, and then you're going to input the actual numbers here. So you go back to Amazon, you scroll down. You can guesstimate, obviously, but the best way is to just figure it out because Amazon tells you this is only 4 ounces roughly, and it's 7 by 3 by 1 inches. So it's 4 ounces, 7 by 3 by 1, and that's going to tell you that when you select the carrier, it's relatively cheap shipping. Now, sometimes it's going to be more expensive, sometimes it's not going to be more expensive. It really depends on the weight of the actual package and the size of the package. Then just pick your best option, or obviously if you have a FedEx closer to your house and you want to go to FedEx all the time, pick that, right? So you can pick the cheapest option or your favorite option. Then you can select that you'll pay. But when I'm doing dropship arbitrage, I typically have the buyer pay so that I don't have to worry about the shipping cost and I can just mark it up using Z-Drop. If you want to offer free shipping, that can work better. But if you're going to do that, then make sure that you input that specific cost into your price so that you can account for that discrepancy and still make the same profit margin. So whichever way you want to do it works, and then you smart pricing off and you list. All right, so we just listed that one. Now let's do one more. Let's find out if this beard one, because it has a lot of ratings, has any good review images. That's the first step. This one's not terrible. That's actually pretty good because it's still in the package. The best pictures that you can take are ones like this, where it looks like you're taking a picture of the package where you can see what the product is, but it's clearly still new. So this is a great image for a listing. We'll save that. Let's try to find a few more. That's not a terrible one. That's a pretty solid one. And you can grab, 2 to 5 images. Obviously, the more images that you have, assuming that they're quality, the better. But for the sake of saving your time, I'm just going to grab 2 here. Now that we have our review images, we're going to go up, we're going to copy it to Mercari, paste it in, and then wait for the pictures to load. All right, there we go. So now that we have the pictures in there, we're going to delete them because we don't want stock images on Mercari. We're going to add our review images instead. That one's first, that one's second. You can put them all in at the same time. I just did it. Now we're going to make sure that the title and the description, just like any other platform, are good with no information about money back guarantees, warranty, brand information, anything like that. Nothing about it selling on the Amazon platform. It looks fine. But we're going to take the price out there, and that looks pretty good. Now we're going to scroll down. This is hairstyling, so it hit that. We're going to go hair, we'll go beard, and we'll go shape. Now there's no brand because it's third party. It is new. Now with the delivery here, what we want to do is we want to choose the package, right? We're going to do standard shipping and choose the package size because we're ordering it to ourselves first because we're using Amazon or Walmart as a supplier. And so we need to do the dropship arbitrage. So we go back. This is 1 ounce, 6 by 4 by, we'll round that up to say 1 because you can't go 0. So we'll edit shipping. It was 1 ounce, 6 by 4, 6 by 4 by 1. And then we'll choose this one. We're going to say the buyer chooses. We're going to say that the buyer pays shipping for this. Mark that up a little bit more just so that we still have a margin on it. And there we go. We listed that, and that's how fast it is and how easy. So those are the 2 ways that you can dropship on Mercari. Remember, scale it up slowly. Either do the dropship arbitrage with Amazon and Walmart, but only use review images, or do eBay directly with third-party sellers. But again, only use images that don't look like their stock, that look like the review images that you took yourself. If you do this and you do it consistently, you list here a lot and you list the right products, you can make a considerable amount of money every month on Mercari. I'm speaking from experience.
So you want to make sure that you avoid these specific products when you're drop shipping or selling somewhere where you're listing products and you run the risk of getting IP complaints or copyright complaints. Now, this is also important if you're drop shipping per se on somewhere like Depop or somewhere like Mercari, where you need to use review images, or at the very least need to use pictures that don't look too stock photo-ish, because I'm going to show you how I basically find a lot of these listings with images on them already that I can just copy over using ZDrop super quickly to sites like Mercari, Depop, Facebook Marketplace, not Poshmark specifically for this case, and a number of others that look like high quality review images, or at the very least don't look like they're too stock photo-ish. They look like I just took my phone, took a picture of them myself, and posted them. Now, that's really going to help you fly under the radar on a lot of these websites where you need to list products with images that you took yourself and you can't just use stock photos. It's also going to help you fly under the radar on a lot of these sites where IP complaints have become a really big issue, and it's going to help you avoid them. So put simply, I'm just going to run through some examples of how I'd find some of these. Now, I'm on eBay. eBay is one of my favorite suppliers, especially for sites like Facebook Marketplace or Depop, and Mercari especially. I do have some other top suppliers as well, but eBay's probably my favorite, honestly. So here we are on all the categories, and we're just going to pick a random one. I'm going to show you how I would sort this, how I would go through and actually find these products, and I'm going to give you different examples of like, this is a good one, and this is why, this is a bad one, and this is why you should avoid this one, and you get the picture, right? So let's go to, I don't know, automotive air tools, and we'll go spray guns, why not? And now you see, if we scroll down, there's going to be a bunch of different spray guns, right? But we don't want all these listings because if we go through and maybe list this one, for example, it might be in a different country. It might have an auction going, right? And so how can you filter this so that we can just go down a list and pick the ones out that we think have good images? And there's a high likelihood that they have multiple quantity, because if we're drop shipping them, for example, or listing them on another platform, that's crucial because you don't want to list a product that only has a quantity of 1, because if it sells, then you're never going to be able to sell that again, and you're just going to run into future issues. So I'll go to all filters, and the main 3, you can play around with these a lot and kind of see what else you want to do. The main 3 for me is I'll go new and new other if I'm drop shipping new items, of course. Now, another little caveat is often you can drop ship used stuff as well, because there's next to no competition, because a lot of the people selling used stuff are resellers of used stuff, and not a lot of people are drop shipping used stuff. So it's going to look like, A, you're flying under the radar, B, you won't get any IP complaints because it's used, and nobody else is doing that. So you're competing on specific products that nobody else is selling as a drop shipper, right? So that's another little caveat, but today we're just going to stick with new and new other. and we're going to drop ship some new stuff. So I'm going to go to buying format because, again, we don't want any auctions. So buy it now. Again, condition, new or new other, unless you want to specifically drop ship used stuff. Buying format, I'm going to go buy it now. So again, we can just click, order, and we don't have to worry about any auctions and like time stuff. Item location is crucial because you don't want it to be, coming from a different location or a different country. That's going to lead to a lot of issues. I used to forget to check this sometimes, especially when I used to drop ship on Facebook Marketplace a lot. And I would list a lot of stuff that came from like Russia or Canada sometimes. And my shipping times would be a lot longer. And then it would lead to issues and the customers would get annoyed. And I'd have to kind of like play these games with them, acting like I messed up the order and I have to send them another one. Like, you don't want to run into those issues. So again, make sure that your item location is checked US only, or at the very least, your country if you're not drop shipping within the US. So then we're going to apply it. And that's going to filter all these listings within automotive spray guns that fit those parameters, right? And those are the 3 main ones that I usually check off. But again, you can play with other ones. And now it just becomes a game of like, okay, what do we think looks like a stock image, right? Clearly a stock image right here. Even though like someone took this and it's a white background that it looks like somebody took, it's too close to a stock image, right? We don't want that. This one, clearly something we don't want because it has text in the image. It looks like it's a product listing picture. Same thing with this one, like ship same day. We want to avoid all of these things. We're really after listings that look like they're good, right? Because we want the product to be displayed in a good fashion, but it looks like somebody literally took that themselves with a camera or with their iPhone. So as an example, this one kind of does, although it has a white background, but you can kind of see like it looks like a product photography picture. But just to be safe, like I'd probably stay away from something like that. As we scroll down, a lot of these are all stock images. Like again, white background. You don't want any text like right here. None of these are things that I would really go after. Now this one you can see, if we open this one is a perfect example of one that it looks like somebody took themselves, right? So it literally looks like somebody took a picture of the box and they took it on like, I don't even know what that is, like pavement or something like that in the background. And so this would be a good image of something that we could drop ship. But does it have multiple quantity? No, it does not. So we can't drop ship that. And typically what I'll do is I'll have my VAs just sort like this, and then they'll go down and select all the ones. Here's another perfect example. All the ones in order, like 10 pages deep in a category, that look like they don't have stock images on them, and they look like someone has taken them themselves like this, and we'll right click open, and then we'll continue to move through. And then as we build up like, 20, 30, 40, 50 of those tabs open in that browser, then they'll go back and they'll look to see, okay, does it have multiple quantity? That's the first thing in the checklist, because again, if it doesn't have multiple quantity, there's no sense in listing it, because if this person sells, we can never drop ship this product. It's pointless. So we don't want to do that. So this one actually looks like somebody took it themselves. If you look at this product picture, it looks like they kind of have it on a table or some kind of metal background of some sort. Now, another key caveat here is a lot of times eBay sellers will have branding in the image. So this would be actually a good example of something that you could drop ship, because it's got a product picture that displays what the item is. It's high quality in my opinion, but it looks like somebody took it themselves. It's not too stock imagey. It also has multiple quantity, 10 available quantity, and this is an example of something that we would drop ship. Now, another thing I tell my VAs to keep an eye out for is their shipping, because sometimes eBay sellers will sell products with shipping costs. And so if you just mark up the price of this and you use Z-Drop to drag it over to somewhere like Poshmark or Mercari, or, well, you wouldn't sell this on Poshmark, but you get the picture. Copy it over to Facebook or copy it over to Mercari or something like that. Then it's only going to mark the price up, but you want to account for the shipping. So what I'll do is I'll tell them typically mark the price up 60 or 80% depending on the platform, and then add the shipping costs. So we'll mark it up 60%, for example, and then we'll add $5.15 to whatever that is. And that's kind of how we approach it. So this is a perfect example of something that's a good buy. Now, actually, I want to show you examples of other things that you might run into. And I know a lot of like eBay car parts tend to have issues with this. So I want to show you some examples of that. So let's just pick a random, car part category, and we'll kind of go through some of this stuff. So we'll say, we'll go, towing parts and accessories. And then how about towing accessories? Why not? And we'll see if any of these pop up. Again, we're going to go to the filters to filter through. Condition's going to be new in this example, or new other. Buying format, again, we want buy it now. We don't want any auctions. Item location, we want to be close to us, so I'm going to say USA only, and then we apply it.
And now we're just going to go down the list and kind of see what looks good to us. So this one kind of looks good to us, right? It looks like somebody took this image themselves. This one, also an image that looks like somebody took themselves, although there is only 2 left. And as a rule of thumb, I usually say at least 3 or don't list it. But again, that's just me. This one looks like something that somebody took themselves. Now, this one right here has made in the USA on it. I'd probably stay away from it. This one looks like a perfect example of something that somebody would sell themselves. This is an example of something that you don't want to list, because another thing you need to look out for in a lot of the images is the brand. So see how this person has the brand name here, TAUS71, and that's literally the seller? Do not list something with the brand in it. A lot of times too, if you actually look at this picture, it's branded in the image and you can kind of see it. It's a little tough to see, but like, see how it's right there, branded in the image? A lot of times it'll be subtle, but some of these people and some of these sellers will brand their images like that, so steer clear of it. Oftentimes too, they'll take a product picture with the brand name in the background. Like maybe they'll have like a little thing up here in the left-hand corner that says like, I don't know, Tony's Auto Parts, and it'll be like their business card or something like that. Again, don't list it, because those people are doing that to brand their images so that nobody else can use it. For whatever reason, those types of sellers get butthurt if other people use their product images. So in that case, if you see something like that, do not list it. That's going to lead to an IP complaint. So this one's, there's only 1 left. We're not going to sell it. This one has 10 available. Again, it doesn't look like it has any branded image. It looks like somebody took it themselves, and bam, it's perfect. So I would list this. I'd probably mark it up like 60% or 80%. And then I'd also add 1040 to the cost of it because there's shipping. But again, this is another example of something that's really good to list. So there's 2 products right there. I X'd out of the one by accident like an idiot. That's 2 products right there. And this one actually looks semi-decent because it looks like there is a little bit of whiteness around here. But if you look close, it looks like somebody actually took the product image and they're just kind of laying everything out. So this is a pretty good image that I'd use as well. Again, multiple quantity. And this one has free shipping, so you don't need to worry about adding it. So this is another example of something that you could sell as well. Let me find one more example of, okay, so this is an example of one that you'd want to avoid because, again, Belgrade heavy-duty truck parts. It doesn't look like that's the seller, but I would avoid this. Unless you want to copy it over and only use this image, then you could do that. That would work. Then this one looks like something that somebody took a picture of, so this one's pretty good. Let me find one example of something that's bad that you don't want to list. And you're going to see this in a lot of different categories, not just car parts. I just know it's really prevalent in car parts. That's why I wanted to use it as an example. Again, this one, USA stock, like don't list anything with text like that in the image. This one looks like somebody took it themselves. This one looks like somebody took it themselves. Even though it's on a white background, it kind of looks like it's like cardboard of some sort or like a picture background. Somebody took it clearly. This is another perfect example of something you'd want to drop ship. Looks like somebody took it themselves, but it's clear enough and it's a good enough product picture that it displays what it is and that it's new, multiple quantity, so it's perfect and free shipping. We love that. Let's find, this is what I mean right here. So this is an example of somebody that's branded their image, right? See, it says like Vegron or whatever that is. Do not list anything like this. This person might not see it, right? They might not see your listing, but it's higher risk than if you list something else because God forbid they find their listing on somewhere else. Some of them will reach out to you and ask you to take it down, but some won't, and they will just report you, and you don't want that. It's not worth it, so do not list anything like that, all right? And that's pretty much how I go through the process of finding high-quality products that look like they're not stock images that I took myself for platforms like Mercari, for example, or Depop. And lately, I've been testing a lot of this on Facebook Marketplace because while you can list product images that look stock photo-ish on Facebook Marketplace, I've been having a lot more success recently listing things that kind of look like more like Facebook Marketplace-y or Craigslist-y, where it's like I took the product myself and it looks like I'm just a normal seller that's not dropshipping.
So if there's one feature on Mercari that I think a lot of sellers really underestimate, it's offers, hands down. And honestly, this is one of the biggest areas where I've seen real results, especially, over the past few months as I've been implementing it more and more, because on Mercari, buyer interest does not always turn into immediate purchases. A lot of people browse, a lot of people compare, a lot of people like items and wait, and that usually means that if you're just listing inventory and then hoping buyers come back and purchase at full price on their own, you're leaving a lot of money on the table and you're doing it, where realistically it's super easy to just clean that up, okay? And likes are not just vanity metrics, not just on Mercari, but across the board. They're actually buying signals, not perfect signals, of course, but signals nonetheless. When somebody likes your item, they're telling you that that product caught their attention. They might not be ready to buy that second. They might be price sensitive, or maybe they're comparing other options across the board to other websites or whatever the case is. Or maybe they're waiting to see whether the seller will blink first and make them an offer, right? And that is why offers matter so much. Offers create movement. They create urgency, which is huge for selling. They make the buyer feel like they're getting a deal. And sometimes they are the exact kind of push needed to turn that maybe into a sale. This is true on a lot of marketplaces across the board. I've talked about this on Poshmark, obviously Facebook Marketplace, literally all of them. It's important. But I think it's especially true and especially important on Mercari because the platform naturally supports that behavior so well. Buyers on Mercari are used to the idea of deals, right? They're used to price movement. They're used to interacting with listings in a way that feels a bit more dynamic than just fixed priced shopping. So if you're not actively using offers as part of your selling strategy, you're missing out on one of the platform's most important tools. Now, of course, that does not mean that you should offer so aggressively that you destroy your margins, right? That's not the point. You should obviously have your margins already built in, like I've talked about on other platforms as well, anticipating that you're going to make offers. The point is to use these offers strategically. You want enough margin built into your price already so that when the time comes to send an offer, you can make a healthy profit while increasing the chance of a conversion. That's why pricing and offers are not just, unrelated, they're connected and they're intertwined. They're not separate decisions. You do not just pick a price and then forget about it. You pick a price with your future offer strategy in mind. And this becomes even more powerful at scale, of course. If you only have 20 listings, maybe you can manage all your prices and your offers very easily. But if you have hundreds or thousands, or in my case, a much larger inventory count, it becomes very hard to manually keep up with that kind of follow-up consistently. Realistically, it's impossible. And that's where things started to really change for me because one of the biggest improvements that I've seen on Mercari came from simply making sure that offers were going out consistently on all my products that had likes on them. Not occasionally, not when I felt like it or when I remembered, not only when I had some time, downtime after the kids went to bed or whatever the case is, consistently. And when that happens, you start creating more opportunities for sales without having to create more listings or do more sourcing in that exact moment. You are squeezing more value out of the inventory that you already have up, that you already have listing. And that is a huge leverage point. So as you can see here, just in the back end of my Mercari, we are on the actual offers page right here and the chats page. And you can see like this one right here was an example of an offer that went out automatically. And the buyer actually didn't see it in time. But what happened? They came back to that offer when they were notified and they remade the same offer. Now it was slightly lower. I'm pretty sure just off the top of my head, this is already profitable. My VA will process this soon in an offer that we wouldn't have already otherwise had. Now, if we scroll down, you could see my offer bot literally made this offer. That person expired and then they declined it. Right here, expired offer, but I accepted that offer for a bundle. This is an offer that went out, person declined it. This is an offer that I got, actually, this is an offer that somebody made me. Again, perfect example. This is an offer that went out in the past, $29.97. This person returned and made an offer for even more that I accepted recently. This person asked if I was flexible on the price. The offer bot, Sidekick tools, went back, made them an offer. Now this expired, but again, they might come back and then it might make them an offer as well. And if you even click right here, you can literally see auto offer to likers, auto offer to likers, auto offer to likers an hour ago. It's just going through all my listings and making coordinated offers to likers based on those specific listings. So not just do I have, tens of thousands of listings up that could potentially get sales, but also when people like and interact with that listing, they're going to get a timed offer in the future. And it's just going to constantly hit that list of people that engage with that product listing and make that offer, which is going to simulate a deal for them, simulate urgency because obviously it's a timed offer, and then also potentially drive sales and more profit into my pocket for literally no extra work. All I'm doing is picking up the low-hanging fruit, cleaning it up, collecting more potential sales, and literally showcasing my products again to people that have already shown buying intent for them, all right? So this is Sidekick Tools. Obviously, it's a phenomenal software that doesn't just make offers on Mercari, it also does Poshmark, Whatnot, Depop, a number of others. You can see I have it on my phone right here. Boom. You can't really see it right there, but I'll drop some screenshots of the actual thing up on the board right now. When I was doing this for Poshmark, it's a little bit more in depth because you have to do a share bot and an offer bot, so the settings are a little bit more in depth. With Mercari, it's super simple. So obviously, as you sign in, you can literally see there's scrolling, like there's tabs, there's Poshmark, there's Mercari, eBay, Depop, Whatnot, obviously, right? Now, if you're on the Mercari tab and you connect your store to Sidekick Tools here, you'll be able to set it up. You just go to automation settings in the top right, click on that little tool icon, and this is where you're gonna see the offers to likers. You toggle that on. Again, I'll drop the screenshot up on the screen for you so you can see. It's very easy to set up. All you literally need to do is you set your listing discount. The lowest you can have is 10%. Then you set your maximum discount percentage allowed, and then you select your send interval in days. So you can see mine up on the screen. I literally have a minimum discount of 10%. Maximum discount percentage allowed is 20%. The send intervals is 3 days. So every 3 days, it starts sending offers to people that have liked listings and cleaning them up. And it needs at least one liker on that listing. Now, you can set that higher if you want 3, 5, 10, whatever the case is. Obviously, I want it every single time somebody likes a listing to then send an offer out to that specific person, right? You could also add other rules and other specific, for specific items if you want. I didn't do that. You can also set up and configure the relisting settings if you would like to relist your stale inventory and constantly have that going. I'm not doing that specifically because we're not tracking stock and inventory, so we have a different system going on, but you could do that if you wanted to. And literally just doing this, I promise you, will drive your sales up 50 to 100 to 200%, maybe even more. I've literally seen this anecdotally across the board, not just on Poshmark, not just on Mercari, but literally with every shop that I've connected this to and started making automated offers to likers. It's been a game changer. I cannot recommend this enough. Again, it is stupidly easy to set up. That's all you have to do. Connect it into Sidekick Tools, your store. Literally have it set up so that it's making automated offers to likers and continue about your business, listing, doing product research like you normally would. And I guarantee you this drives your sales up through the roof. So really hope that this helps, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.
In this video, I'm going to show you how you can effectively drop ship on Depop. Now, Depop was a website that I used to sell on a lot as a reseller back in the day when I literally sold products that I had. But since I've become a drop shipper, I was really sleeping on it for a while, up until probably about a year ago when I started testing different websites that I could effectively drop ship on. And when I first started drop shipping on Depop, my very first account actually got suspended because I did it the wrong way. But that's a good thing, obviously, for me and for you in this case, because now I know exactly what not to do and how to do it effectively so that you can actually drop ship on the platform, make sales, and build a consistent, sustainable, long-term drop shipping business on the platform. Now, this is a really cool website because there is sales velocity, a lot like a Mercari or a Poshmark, right? It's not going to be the sales velocity of like an Amazon or an Etsy or a Facebook Marketplace back during like the heyday of Facebook Marketplace drop shipping, but it is a platform that you will make consistent sales on. You will be able to make multiple hundreds, maybe even $1,000 plus profit on this platform monthly if you do it the right way, right? You don't want to jump the gun. You don't want to get overzealous and just launch a bunch of products on here, because if you do that, you will inevitably get suspended. It's a slow, methodical process building consistent listings that are quality, and over time, you will be able to actually build a store that gets consistent sales. So the very first thing before we jump into the tutorial here is that you need to understand, just like Mercari, right? On Depop, you can't only use stock images. So if you're drop shipping on, let's say, Facebook Marketplace, you can just port over the images from Amazon or eBay or Home Depot or whatever supplier you're using and use the stock images. It's totally fine. On Poshmark, for example, if you're dropshipping on Poshmark, again, you could just take an Amazon listing or a Walmart listing, copy it over using something like ZDrop, use the stock images, and it's totally fine. On somewhere like Depop, you cannot use stock images. I used to teach that you could use stock images and then just add a review image at the end of your listing for Mercari. And on Depop specifically, I used to teach the same thing, whereas like you could just use all the stock images, because why wouldn't you, right? That was my logic. It's like, if you can use all the stock images so that a customer can understand what they're buying better and see the product in a better light, obviously because those images are professionally done, and then just add a review image in the beginning of the listing to comply with Depop's terms of service. Just like Mercari, you can't have all stock images on Depop. I used to say that that was okay. However, that wisens up the platform to the fact that you're dropshipping, and it just makes you a target if, for say, like something were to go wrong with a tracking number, or some customer was upset that potentially they got like an Amazon box. It doesn't happen frequently. I'm just kind of saying, like, you want to take all the precautions to build up a long-term sustainable store on Depop in this example, because you want to be able to make these profits every single month going forward if you're going to put the work in, the time in, or at least the money behind a VA to actually do this, okay? So I only say now, only add review images. Do not use stock images. So let's go through an example of listing on Depop. There's two ways to list on Depop. So the very first way is to do dropship arbitrage. After this, I'm going to teach you a way where you can dropship directly. Both of them work just like I always teach when you're doing like Mercari, for example, if you've gotten the newsletter. If you haven't gotten the newsletter, it's basically just every month I send out an email blast to everybody that subscribes, documenting exactly what's working for me in e-commerce and how I'm doing that strategy-wise and everything that comes with that. So one of the things that I said in that newsletter on Mercari, it reigns true on Depop as well, okay? So you can use two ways. You can either dropship directly using all images that somebody has taken themselves, so it looks like you're taking the product pictures, if you can find listings like that. I'm going to show you some examples of how you can. Or you can do the dropship arbitrage, which is probably the safest way to do it. Order to yourself first and then ship it out to the customer using the Depop label. Because if you're shipping out using the Depop label and you're using review images, there's literally no blueprint whatsoever to prove that you're dropshipping. So it's the safest, most sustainable way. So I'm going to teach you that here first, and then I'll run you through some examples of actually dropshipping directly if you want to stick around for that method. Okay, they both work. One's a little bit safer, one's obviously a little bit more hands-off. Both of them work effectively. So the first thing that you need to understand here when we're dropshipping on somewhere where we need to use review images is you need to first and foremost pick a product that has a lot of reviews, right? Because you're going to need to figure out a good review image, or in most cases, a bunch of good review images to put in your product listing so that you can obviously get interest, clicks in it, and eventually sales, right? Because people are going to buy this listing based off the images that you're putting in your listing. So those review images need to be good. Just to kind of pull through a bunch of examples, let's find listings that have a lot of reviews. Obviously, we don't want to list paper. Who's going to buy paper with review products? Scotch tape, not a good example. I'm going to click on this frog listing just because I know right now, currently, a lot of home decor and a lot of like garden decor, since it's warming up and it's becoming summer, sells really well. Another thing that sells really well on a lot of these platforms where you're doing dropship arbitrage is like sunglasses, because a lot of people take good review images of sunglasses, so keep that in mind. Something that you want to avoid is like clothing listings that obviously aren't sunglasses, because in that aspect, you have to ask yourself like, okay, if somebody's going to take a review image of a piece of clothing, they're not going to like hang it up really nice and take a review image of it. It's probably either going to be like them showing it like laying on a bed, which doesn't look that good. In most cases, it's going to be on their body, which you can't really portray that to a customer as new. So let's pick a few here. We're going to pick this one. We'll also scroll down to this DeWalt toolbox, and we'll see if we can find some good suggestions of products on these. So we're going to scroll down. This is relatively cheap. It also has a decent amount of review images, so we'll check that product out. This one has like $6.96. Typically, I look for ones in the thousands, and I tell my VAs to do the same thing. Not a whole lot here. Here's another one with $4.37. This, again, not that great. Not really getting suggested a lot of products here with a lot of reviews, so let's go a different route. So this one has $8.50. Let's check that one out. This one right here, $1,900. That's perfect. That's going to be plenty of reviews. There's going to be some good product images in those reviews that we can then utilize on our listing. And let's find one more just so I can sort through a bunch here. Let's pick this one. All right, so let's take this Milwaukee one, for example. Let's say we wanted to list this on Depop, okay? Well, the first thing that you want to do is make sure that there's a good review image, because there's no sense in starting to list it if there's not a good review image, right? So you want to click on the ratings, and that's going to take you down to the ratings here, and then you're going to see all customer images. Now you're just looking for a good image that displays what the product is and makes it look good, okay? So this one's not terrible right there. That kind of looks pretty solid. It even still has the actual label on it, so this is a pretty good one. And we're just going to take a snippet of this picture, and bam. Now, another little caveat is don't take the black around that. Also, if you're going fast, some of my VAs make this mistake sometimes. Like, definitely don't get, like, in this case, it's like a vertical image, so you're not going to take like these arrows. But if it's a more square image, sometimes the arrows will be in the picture if you just right-click save. Avoid that. It makes it so obvious that it's a review image taken from a listing, okay? So just avoid that in that case. So now we're gonna save this. We'll just say box 1. Doesn't matter what you save it as. Then this one's not terrible. It just looks like a bunch of them. This could be misconstrued and this person could get confused based on what they're buying because you have a bunch of stackable ones, but just for the sake of saving your time in this tutorial, I'll take this one and I'll add it. Basically, all you're doing is you're looking for 1 to 5. 5 would be ideal, but obviously if you can't find a bunch of images, 1 to 3 is good as well. You want at least more than 1 typically, unless there's only 1, then list that. That's totally fine. Images in your listing to potentially make it so that customers can buy it with confidence and also understand what they're getting. So for example, like you don't want to just take any review image here. Like if we took a review image that was like terrible, like that's actually pretty good. I was going to use this as an example, but I'll just take that as an example of a good image, but you'll get the picture. Like you don't want to use bad images. That's not going to sell a listing. That defeats the whole purpose of doing this. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're listing like a variation listing, like I referenced sunglasses, often you'll see like sunglasses can have variation listings. So make sure that all your images, if you're taking review images, are of the same variation. I've made that mistake in the past. It's not the biggest mistake in the world, but it might confuse the customer and you might end up sending them like the brown ones when they expected the black ones. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Now that we have 3 good review images, we've proved the fact that this one has good images that we can use. So now we're just going to copy it over to Depop. You see here, copy to Depop. Typically, I don't copy directly in my own like e-com business. I don't copy directly to Depop doing this. I usually have my VAs copy to Mercari and then we'll use List Perfectly to copy over to Depop because it actually moves a lot faster that way. So that's just the way that I approach it. But this tutorial is obviously just dropshipping on Depop. Paste it in there, let it do its job. Also, you want to avoid any of these like little bullet points that kind of have like emojis. It doesn't work on these platforms and a lot of them don't like it. Mercari doesn't like it. Depop doesn't like it. I think you actually can't even list them on Mercari, but obviously we delete them anyway, so I'm not sure. It's been a while since we've tried. So then once you get that in there, you're just going to delete everything that you don't want in the description. So again, just like I always say in these tutorials, avoid keywords like the brand name. So if it's like a third-party brand, you don't want their brand name in there. If it's a money-back guarantee, you don't want that in there. If it's something about it selling on Amazon, because in this case, we're taking this listing from Amazon, you don't want that in there as well, okay? Typically on Amazon, that's going to be the last bullet point, so just keep that in mind. Also, I'm going to X out this lifetime warranty there. So the very next thing when you copy it over is you can't use the stock images, so we're going to remove the stock images and add our review images in. So we're going to go to the review images, always put the best review image first. In this case, all of them are pretty solid, so we'll stick to that. So if somebody's looking at these images, it looks like we took this picture ourselves in our garage, and so they're buying directly from somebody. It does not look like we're dropshipping this. That's the whole point of dropshipping on somewhere like Depop or Mercari. Then we're going to categorize this just like you always would. Typically, I sell a lot of clothing accessories on Depop, but you can also start to see that they're adding new categories. You can sell pretty much anything on here now. Within reason, there's some specific things that they don't allow you to sell, but you'll learn that as you list. So this is going to be like home, we'll categorize it in, then we'll say like home access. Well, that's actually storage and organization. There's no real perfect category for this one since it's like power tool, like box or like storage, but I always tell my VAs just pick the best category. So what is this in? Well, we'll just say office. Why not? The brand, you don't need to put the brand in there. You could, because in this case, this is a recognizable brand. It's Milwaukee. If it's a third-party brand, just avoid it. You don't need to put that in there. So Milwaukee's something that like people actually want. So you do want to put that in there. The condition's obviously going to be brand new. I always say put the quantity 10 for my VAs just because it's easier to just add a 0 when the quantity's already 1, but you can make the quantity whatever you want. If you want to make it 1 and then just relist them. If you want to make it 3, whatever you want to do, I always just personally say 10. The color, you can add the color if you want. Any of these other, descriptive specs, if you want to add those, I don't specifically add them unless it's super obvious. So if I were going through this listing, I might say like red, just because it's clearly red. There's no age, there's no style. I always say boost the listing. Now, keep in mind that you do need to mark your product up enough to account for this boost listing fee, okay? So that's 8%. But I promise you, the more you click this on your items, the more you will sell on Depop. It's been working very well for me recently, and I'll probably put that in the next monthly newsletter on what's working in e-commerce. Again, linked at the bottom of the description if you want to join that newsletter. So here's now where you can either pick ship on my own, right? So if you're shipping directly to the customer, or ship with Depop. I don't recommend that using something like Amazon, you ship directly to the customer. I recommend using Dropship Arbitrage. You can do it, although if you get a TBA tracking number and then you use something like Track Taco, you can potentially sometimes run into issues, and that's how I actually got suspended on my first account. So you can do it, just understand that like if a customer gets annoyed or if they report the fact that their item's not there and that your tracking number's wrong, keep in mind I also use like Amazon stock images at that point in time, so that could have definitely had something to do with that as well. If I'm going to spend my time listing, or I'm going to spend my money paying a VA to list, I want to make sure that I'm building a sustainable business that I can make money off a month from now, 6 months from now, right? So I always say just do the safe thing and build a long-term sustainable business that you can rely on that income month to month, and not just like quick hits of like a few $1,000s and then you're suspended and you can never sell there again. You also always, little caveat, can get another Depop account. It's very, very easy. I actually did a video on how you can get another phone number like within the US very easily. I put it on the second channel. If anybody needs that video, just drop a comment and I'll link it directly to you. So then, like I said, you pick ship with Depop, and then you'd select your address, the parcel size. If you need to know the parcel size and weight, you just come back to the Amazon listing. You scroll down to the product dimensions, and it usually tells you the dimensions and the weight, which is right here, 23 pounds. And then you'd mark your price up. So if you copied with Z-Drop, it should have already marked your price up to $243. I think I have mine set to mark up at 60% right now. So $243 is what we charge. Okay, so it's marked up probably even more than, maybe that is 60%. I can't do math right now. It's too much math. But from 140 to 243, so there's plenty of margin to make my 8% for boosting it, as well as the shipping charge that they would pay. And then you'd post it, and it's really that simple. Now, if you're shipping on your own, you would click ship on your own. You could offer free shipping, or you could charge for shipping. I always offer free shipping. I feel like that works better. And then you'd post it. So that's how you do dropship arbitrage for the most part. When you're doing Amazon listings, I typically recommend dropship arbitrage. Now, if you want to dropship directly, I'd recommend something like eBay or Poshmark, because on those platforms, there's a lot of other sellers that basically list with images that look like review images, and that's still crucial. That's number one and most important when listing on Depop. But they also ship directly using either, if it's Poshmark specifically, it'll be a USPS because it's USPS priority mail. Or if it's eBay, it'll either be a USPS, a FedEx, or a UPS tracking number, which is crucial because then you can put the actual tracking number into Depop when it ships, when you ship directly to the customer and you're not doing the dropship arbitrage. So that's the main distinction. Either one, do Amazon and do the dropship arbitrage using review images, or use eBay or Poshmark listings where there's images that look like they've been taken by somebody, you know, in their house, like with an actual camera, and it doesn't look too stock photo-ish. But also another key distinction when you're dropshipping directly using Poshmark or eBay is you need to make sure, like I said, that you're getting a UPS, a USPS, or a FedEx tracking number, okay? So I personally use eBay and Poshmark. If you know of another supplier that does that every single time, by all means, you can use them. Just make sure that it hits those two parameters. Now, if you do want to drop ship directly on Depop, it's just as simple as finding a listing on one of those platforms that I just referenced that has good images that look like they've been taken by somebody, you know, themselves at their house with their own camera. So here's a perfect example of a listing like that, right? This second image right here is something that you could drop ship directly on eBay, knowing that you'd get a UPS, FedEx, or USPS tracking number from the seller that you could then input to Depop directly that corresponds with this actual sale. And this product looks like it's been taken by somebody with like their own camera in the grass, okay? So this is a perfect listing that you could utilize. Here's another example of one, right? So this Ryobi one, you can see I literally purchased this in the past myself, and it's currently out of stock now, but I sold this countless times on both Mercari and on Depop. And this picture looks like somebody was taking pictures of Ryobi power tool products with their own camera in their garage. It sold perfectly. Now, this is an example of one that is a bad one, right? Because these images right here are clearly stock photos. You're not gonna be able to get away with listing something like this long-term on the platform. Either on somewhere like Mercari or Depop, they're gonna take that off and hit you with like a strike or a warning, or they'll just suspend you altogether when they realize that you're dropshipping and they see a bunch of listings like this. So do not do that. So avoid listings with stock images like this or like this, for example. All of these images are bad for these platforms. Another two examples of good suppliers that you could use, there are other ones out there, don't get me wrong. Just eBay's the easiest example for me to use because there's so many products like that. But Poshmark has a lot of sellers that obviously take their own product pictures. You just want to make sure that when you're doing it on Poshmark or any of these other suppliers, obviously like eBay, for example, you want to make sure that there's multiples in that listing, because if you go through the trouble to list it, you don't want that listing to sell out super fast and then you won't be able able to actually find that product for that price in most cases, or to at least be tougher and you'll have to scramble to find it. So you don't want to face that issue. So make sure that you're buying from somebody with multiple quantity. I usually say like 3 or more is good. So Poshmark, again, another place that you could find those products. Another great place that's actually super underrated is Etsy as well, because a lot of Etsy sellers will take their own product pictures and stage them fairly well. And then you know that also you're getting usually a USPS tracking number, but sometimes it can be UPS or FedEx as well. So let me run you through an example of actually listing this, directly dropshipping this from this eBay seller on Depop. Okay, so we copy to Depop using Z-Drop. Again, Z-Drop always linked in the description with a coupon code if you want to save a little bit of money. I think it's like $12 a month now. I honestly don't even know. But with a coupon code, I think you save $1 or $2 off the monthly price every month. Paste it in there. Now, in this case, we're not going to delete the actual images because they're not stock photos. I am going to delete this middle one because it does look a little stocky, and these other two already kind of convey what this product is fairly well. So again, we want to delete anything out of the description that tells us that like this is selling on another platform or doesn't really have the right information that fits this platform or anything about another seller, another money back guarantee, whatever. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete find many, options and get the best deals for, and we'll just stick with that. Now, if I really wanted to take this to the next level, I could go back to the eBay listing. I could go down and take all these product features here and then paste them in there. But for the sake of saving your time, I'm not going to do that right now. Another way that you could do it is you could go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm making a product listing for, and then paste what the listing is in there. So I'd paste 2-pack for Makita 18 volt, blah, 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 into ChatGPT. This is something I've been doing a lot on Etsy lately for my print on demand listings. And then basically tell them like, hey, ChatGPT, this is what I'm listing. Make a product listing that's well written, but also stuffed full of keywords that reads well. And you'd be surprised, like it pumps it out super quick. It's incredible. You'll have a bunch of keywords. So you'll be higher in a bunch of search results for those keywords. And you didn't have to like spend 20 minutes writing your own detailed description and do a bunch of product research and keyword research to actually create that. So that's another way that you could approach it. Now, category, this is another power tool. So there's not really a category for that on Depop right now. So I'm going to say home. We'll say home accessories. And we'll just say office. The brand, now typically, again, on Depop, I don't usually put the brand in, but for this case, Makita is a recognizable brand, although it's not here listed on Depop since, clearly most people don't sell power tools on Depop, but just for an example. So you could put the brand in there if it's recognizable and also it's on Depop. The condition's going to be new. Again, I always put quantity 10, but the quantity doesn't really matter. The color in this case doesn't matter. None of these things do. The age, the style. Again, always boost your listings. I promise you, as long as you're accounting for that 8% fee in your profit margin already, it's worth it. You will sell a lot more by doing this. The country location is United States. The city is usually Philadelphia for me, but you could put whatever your city is in, obviously. Now, since we're not doing the dropship arbitrage, we're going to do ship on your own, and then we're going to offer free shipping. That's what I recommend. You could play around with it, like split test, I would say list half with free shipping and half like where you're charging shipping. See what works better for you. Since I'm already marking my prices up significantly, free shipping always sells better. They even tell you that, like this item is now twice as likely to sell because you're offering free shipping. When if you toggle that off, that goes away, right? Items with free shipping are twice as likely to sell. Toggle it on, they literally tell you that. So I've split tested this. I didn't just take their word for it. In almost all cases, not every case, but almost all cases, offering free shipping is always the best way to go. And then we're going to post it. It's really that simple. So that's how you dropship on Depop, both directly to the customer and using dropship arbitrage. Again, the same method and strategy is taken into dropshipping on Mercari, but I don't teach that publicly because I'm not going to create a video on YouTube like how to dropship on Mercari for other reasons. I've talked about them in the past. Mercari sent me cease and desist letters. They told me to stop trying to teach people how to do it, so I don't do it anymore, but the same strategy applies there. Take it and run with it if you want to. I highly recommend that you at least test this platform. I'm not saying that if you're already doing a number of like e-commerce business models or if you're already dropshipping on a number of platforms, Depop should be your main focus. It should not, but it definitely should be in that second tier of things that you're focused on, like a Bonanza, for example, or a Depop, right? Or something like that, because you can make sales here. I promise you, with a little bit of effort, you can make a few $100s profit every month here, if not $1,000 profit plus, with enough listings consistently over time. And the best part about this, in my opinion, is if you're already doing it, which I highly recommend that you put Mercari in like your top tier. So like my top tier, honestly, if you force me, not in this order, these are just the ones coming to my mind. Amazon, Facebook Marketplace, Etsy, Poshmark, and Mercari are the top tier in my opinion. And then like you have Bonanza, Depop, and the list goes on and on. But like the good part about it is if you're already using this method on Mercari with the Mercari dropshipping, that's kind of why I merged them in this tutorial, then you could just use something like List Perfectly and take that product over in seconds to Depop. And so you don't really need to spend any more time. If you're already doing it
on Mercari, just use List Perfectly, morph it over to Depop in seconds. I'll drop an affiliate link to List Perfectly down in the description if you want to grab that as well. So really hope this helps, guys. As always, it's just what works for me. Any questions, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.
All right, so Depop shipping has slightly changed depending on when you set your account up. For a lot of people that are setting their accounts up now currently, you're not necessarily going to have access to direct drop shipping on Depop. So in some cases, you will have to use the Depop label, which means you will have to use the two-step drop shipping like we do on Poshmark, right? There's a lot of nuances involved in who has it still and who might not, but let's just assume for the sake of, those of you that don't, that you won't have access to it if you're starting a new Depop, seller account, and you're going to need to use the two-step drop shipping, meaning you're going to need to use the Depop shipping label, okay? So with that being said, I want to drop a lecture that I did recently for my virtual assistant so they can list from Amazon or, realistically any site like it, eBay with fast shipping, Walmart Plus with fast shipping, or any website like it. And we're going to basically take those products, list them on Depop, and that way if we get an order, we're going to use the Depop label, order that product to us first, ship out with the Depop label. So this is the lecture that I literally did inside my own dropshipping business for my virtual assistant to list products on Depop. Really hope it helps, and obviously any questions, let me know. All right, so in this lecture, I'm going to show you how to list things from Amazon to Depop using review images. So I'm going to either tell you how to actually go through and list. So in this case, we are going to be obviously on women's handbags. We're going to sort it for all Prime, and then we're going to start listing Prime women's handbags to Depop. But I also might give you a spreadsheet with a bunch of listings as well. So regardless of how we set it up and we talk about how to set it up, there's going to be a bunch of listings that you're going to add to Depop, all right? So let's just go through and I'll show you the process of it because that's the part that you really kind of need to learn. All right, so we're going to open this one, we're going to open this one, and we'll list both of these. Now, we're looking for ones with a lot of review images because on Depop, we can't use the actual white background images. We need to use the review images, all right? So the first thing we need to do is find good review images of this product. But make sure when you do that you're taking the same variation every single time, right? Like the same color. If it's a shirt, same color shirt, same exact variation. If it's a bag like this, we need the same exact variation, same exact color, right? So we need to find this one. If we're listing this one, we need to find the review images of this like white or beige or whatever you call that bag, right? We can't get any other color. It all has to be white. So we found a white one right here that looks semi-decent. We're going to take this one, save the image as. If it doesn't allow you to save it, then just take a snippet. So it does allow me to save it as a JPEG, so I'll save it as 3, just going through. It doesn't really matter what you save it as long as you can find the pictures. If it didn't let you save it, if it only saved as like a Chrome extension or like a .crm or a .html or whatever it is, then all you would do is you'd go down to the snippet tool right here. If you can't find the snippet tool, just search on the PC and type in snippet. You'll see the snipping tool. And then in that case, all you would do is you take a snippet image of the picture and then you would save it like that, right? You get this, you drag it over, you'd save it, and same exact thing, right? You'd save it as 3 in this case or whatever it is, all right? So snippet or right-click save it if it saves it as a JPEG or a PNG, right? If it doesn't save it as a JPEG, like if I were to go to right-click and save image as, sometimes this down here would be like a Chrome or something else. So if it's not a JPEG or JPEG or a PNG, don't save it. Take a snippet image of it, all right? Because then it won't go into Depop correctly, all right? So we're going to take like 2 or 3 of these bag images that are the same exact variation, like I said, this white bag, but that look good. So this one isn't that great. We're going to try to find another one because we need them to obviously list on Depop, right? We can't use the actual like white background images. So again, we're saving it as a JPEG. Cool. We're going to save it as 4 so we don't take a snippet image of it. All right. And ideally, you'd have pick 3 images there. We're going to roll with 2 because I didn't really see any other ones. You're also going to take the title as well, but make sure you're not taking any brands. Just like we don't list brand names on other websites, don't list the brand name here. So we're going to skip Fashion Puzzle because that's the brand name. We're going to come to Depop, list an item, add those 2 pictures of this bag. There they are. Pick the best one as your title pick, like your main picture in the front. Whatever the best one is, drag it over to make sure that that's your cover. We're going to go with this one. Then make sure you post the title in there so I can find the actual bag easily, right? And then space down, and we're going to add the rest of the description. So we're going to copy the description here, and make sure, just like we do on Poshmark or Mercari or Facebook Marketplace or any other description, make sure that the last bullet point that we copy doesn't have any warranty information, anything about Amazon, anything about a money-back guarantee, or anything like that, anything about the brand name, right? Anything like that. This one doesn't. Another thing you need to make sure as well is on Depop, it limits you to, I believe, 1,000 characters. So if this is negative, just delete like the last sentence or the last paragraph or the last bullet point until it's no longer negative. You'll see that probably in the next one, maybe not, but I'll show you an example of one of those. All right. Now, once you've done that, it's also going to suggest you different categories. So this is obviously a women's bag. If it doesn't suggest you a category that makes sense for you, then pick the category. Just scroll through. You might be just like on Poshmark, just like on Mercari, just like on Facebook Marketplace. You might be a little bit slow at picking categories and subcategories in the beginning. Just find the best one that you can. All right. You'll get faster at it as you go, but the majority of the time, the suggested category is going to work. This is obviously a women's bag, so we're going to roll with that. Don't worry about material. Don't worry about occasion. Don't worry about type. Brand name is always going to be other. So find other and then list it as other. The condition is always going to be brand new unless I tell you otherwise. The quantity is always going to be 3. And then we're going to scroll down. If it already adds the colors in there, delete them because sometimes they're wrong, especially if you're taking a listing with multiple variations. We're not going to list blue. This one is just white, so delete the colors out of there. No colors. Don't worry about source. Don't worry about age. Don't worry about style. Item price, you're going to have to manually mark this up because we're not using Z-Drop to copy it over for Depop specifically right now. So I want you to take whatever the price is and just multiply it by 2. It's that simple. So this is $25.95. Open your calculator. $25.95 times 2. Boom. $51.90 is what we're going to list it as. All right. So in that case, it would be $51.90. We're not going to promote. Make sure the location is the United States and Philadelphia. It also should still have my address as Tim Thomas, 75 Rotterdam Road, West in there. So that should be fine. If that's in there, great. Also, Depop shipping should be selected. Offer worldwide shipping should also be checked off, and worldwide shipping should be marked at $30. All that should be saved in there. If it's not, make sure you select it. All right. Then you're going to post it. Package size is the last thing I forgot to tell you. So we also need to find the package size, and that's just basically the weight of the package. So you can go back to the listing, scroll down until you see the product details, or you could just search for them. So product details right here. So if you just search on your page, like Control F, product details, it will literally try to find, that's obviously not it. So scroll down to the next one. There it is, right? And this is going to tell you it's 9.63 ounces, so it's under a pound, okay? And that's how you're going to categorize it, just under a pound, medium, under a pound. There we go. So always get the weight of it and then categorize the package size so we can ship it off with the right label and then post it. And it's that easy, all right? So let's list one more. For this one, we are going to obviously list another item. We're going to copy the title here. We are also, this one specifically is going to be the one that we landed on is like this beige one or whatever this is. It's mustard, I guess. So we're looking for that image in the review images, all right? So we're looking for that like beige looking one. There it is right there. There's 3 of them. So we're going to take this one, boom. It's a JPEG, so we can save it. We don't need to take a snippet, but obviously if it was not a JPEG, we would need to take a different one. We're going to take all 4 of these because this person has actually decent listings or decent pictures, like review images. So we're going to save these, and we'll use these. Boom. And now we have the title that I copied. So we copied the title of the actual product without Fashion Puzzle, the brand. We're going to paste those photos in there and select the best one as our cover photo. Description, we're going to paste that title in there without the brand name. So again, I can find it easily. And then we're going to grab the description. Now, for the description, again, make sure that the last bullet point or the last thing that you copy on the Amazon listing doesn't have anything in there about warranty information, brand information, money-back guarantees, or anything like that, right? If it does, delete it. Again, if you'll come across a lot of normally longer listings, like with the description, it might go negative here and be like red -200 or red -100. That just means that you're over the limit of characters, so you need to delete that many characters at the end, right? So if that were the case, I'd delete maybe like this last sentence, or like if this was a long description, I'd delete the last paragraph. But obviously this one fits within the parameters, so we don't need to do that, okay? Categories obviously majority of the time going to be suggested to you. You can just pick one. If one of these doesn't make sense, then find a category that does. You can be slow in the beginning. That's fine. You'll get faster as you go. But obviously this is a women's bag, so we're going to pick that. Skip all these. You don't need to put material, occasion, or type. Brand is always going to be other. So search other and put the brand in there. The condition is always going to be brand new unless I tell you otherwise. And the quantity is always going to be 3. Okay. Delete the colors out of there. We don't need that. Don't worry about source, age, style, colors, nothing. None of that matters. It doesn't matter. Just skip it. And then this we're going to multiply by 2. So the price is $21.95. Go back to $21.95 to the calculator. Multiply it by 2, and now we're getting $43.90. So that's what we're going to make the price, $43.90. Scroll down. Don't boost it. The location's always United States, Philadelphia. That should automatically be in there. If it's not, make sure that it is. Depop shipping is always going to be selected. The address should always be in there already as Tim Thomas, 75 Rotterdam Road. If it's not, make sure you select it, okay? Offer worldwide shipping should always be selected automatically with a $30 charge. If not, make sure you check it off and that the $30 shipping charge is in there. And then I think the last thing that we skipped was the actual weight. Did we put that in there? I don't think we did. Where is that? Package size. There it is, right under shipping. All right, so package size, we need to go back and find the weight of this product. So you can search for product detail page or product details, excuse me, and then scroll down to the product details here. It's it's under a pound. So we're going to go with under a pound, 9.14 ounces. We're going to go under a pound. All right. And then we're going to list it. And that is how you list on Depop. The key distinction here is obviously go through all the parameters, like I said, but make sure that you're using good review images that is only that variation that we're listing, right? Don't list multiple colors. Don't list multiple variations. All right. So if you have any questions, let me know, but that's how you list from Amazon using review images to Depop. All right, so Sidekick tools used to just be Poshmark in the beginning, right? Then they started introducing a bunch of new marketplaces, which has been a game changer lately. And recently, they also introduced the interface on, computer, which I absolutely love, especially if you're going to be, some kind of full-time reseller or you plan on scaling this up to any certain degree, which, why wouldn't you if you have a tool like this? It really is advantageous to not just have it from the app on your phone, although that's useful so you can make adjustments there and check, your dashboard, your status of everything, and kind of adjust, different automations from your phone if you want to on the go, but also you have a hub here on the dashboard on a computer. So this is what it looks like. There's a bunch of different options here. You got the home, marketplaces, inventory, create listing, relisting, and a number of other things as you can scroll down and see these different options for you. They also have a dashboard here, which you can kind of look across your different marketplaces that are connected, see the specific sales, see the specific products, the revenue, the fees, and all sorts of things that come with that. Love that. I'm just noticing this now, so I'm really going to expand a little bit more into this over the next few months and kind of see how it evolves, because clearly they're just introducing this, and I'm sure they plan on, adding new features, making micro adjustments, and really kind of bringing this online in a big degree. So I'm excited about that. But I just wanted to kind of mention that because I literally just noticed this. I've been using the app for my phone up until today. So I logged in. I wanted to show you how I set up my Depop automations here on Sidekick Tools, right? So if you go to Sidekick Tools, you click Marketplaces, obviously you can connect to any of the marketplaces that you want. You can connect to your Poshmark account, your eBay account, your Mercari, your whatnot, Depop, etc. Right? So scroll down, you connect your Depop account. It's really easy. You can log in, or you can either use the magic link, which is, if you're logged in on your computer already and you're also logged into Sidekick Tools on your computer as well, then you're just going to copy that magic link, input it into Sidekick Tools, and it logs in for you automatically and connects you, right? So let's say you're hypothetically connected here to Depop now. You want to set up your automation so it's making offers to likers and also doing relisting for you. So you don't have to do any of that. All you need to do is focus on finding good products, listing them, and then the app will literally get sales for you by making those offers and constantly relisting your old stale products, right? So the way that you do that is you want to go to your marketplace here in your connected accounts and then scroll down. Now it's going to say set up automations, and you can literally automate everything from this right here. Now, what it's doing right now is sending offers to likers. So you want to make sure that that's selected, and you want to come up to automation options, and you'll see offers to likers should be toggled on. Now, if it isn't toggled on And you can set the listing discount that you obviously want to target when making those automatic offers to likers. So I have mine set to as little as possible, 5% with a max discount of 10%. You could change this to 5% if you wanted to. I'm just going to make 5% discount to likers, so I'm sure they're going to come back with a counter offer here and there. You see that a lot on Depop in my experience. And max discount of 10%. I know that built in with my margins, I can obviously afford that. So anybody that's accepting a 10% discount, I'm still going to make a decent amount of money on that listing. So again, this is something that you do not have to do manually anymore. This will handle it all for you. Sidekick Tools does it automatically for you. All right. And then you can scroll down, you can make specific adjustments here. So if you want the minimum age of a specific item to be, a week before you're making an offer, you can set that here, or whatever the case is. I guess the max is 4 days. I always keep it 1 day because it doesn't really matter to me. You could also up the minimum likers for that specific product to whatever you want. I always keep it at 1. So these are as little as possible for me. And listing discount is 5%, which is as little as possible, with a max discount for 10. You can adjust these depending on whatever your profit margins are, your goals, your closet, whatever the case is, right? And then I always have it checked on to send the offer again after 24 hours. That doesn't really bother me. If it ends up deterring people from liking the listing, that's totally fine because I don't really want tire kickers on my listings anyway. It can eventually result in a sale, but I'd rather just potentially get that sale initially by sending them offers. And if it ends up annoying them and they unlike the listing, so be it. I'll obviously have the automation going the next time somebody likes that listing, right? And then I save the OTL. That's going to obviously save the offers to liker settings. So now the only other thing that you might want to do is if you come over here on the right and you go to relisting, you scroll down to offer up, you can literally toggle on relists as well, right? And so you can have a daily limit of specific relists that you want, and then you apply it. You could also set the minimum listing age for that specific product. So you don't want to, potentially relist an item that's under a month old, right? So I typically set this to 60 days. You can keep it on whatever you want. And then you can also set the relist schedule if you want. I don't typically do that, although if you really wanted to be safe, you could do it from normal hours for you. So again, it could be like 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. and you could just relist at that point. The whole point there is it's going to simulate a real look of somebody actually relisting within a specific window, right? So for example, if I wanted to do like 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., I could relist there. And then I could also skip specific items from relists if I wanted to and set that up. Or I could also skip items with likes, which I will do. Because if it has a like on it, I obviously want to continue to make offers on that specific listing, then I don't want to relist that product, right? And you could also remove duplicates if you wanted to and select that. So these are the 2 ways that I'm using Depop right now with Sidekick Tools to get more sales. Just like anything else on Poshmark or Mercari, offers to likers here are absolutely crucial and it's a game changer in sales. And then of course, you also potentially want to use relists if you want to. That's also been something that's really helped me out a ton and I recommend that you use it. Facebook Marketplace a few years ago used to be absolutely ridiculous. People were making a killing. I was one of them, and you could realistically list almost anything on here from almost any website. And you would get a ton of sales very, very easily. Now, full disclosure, it is not like that anymore, unfortunately. But while you can't be making, $20,000 a month in profit like you used to and above that, what you can do is you can make decent money on here. It's still side hustle worthy. It's not scalable like it used to be, but there's no reason you can't make a few $100s a month to realistically maybe 1,000 if you scale it that high. I have not, full disclosure, scaled it back up to that, but there's no reason you can't make a few $100 on here just listing products very easily. And the cool benefit of listing products on a site like Facebook Marketplace, for example, is you should already be doing that on all those other websites anyway with a software like Z-Drop, which is what we're going to cover in this video, that copies the product pictures, the product title, the product description, and also marks the price up for you and stores the URL of the product so you can just go back and find that URL and that product very easily as your supplier. Order it to the customer and drop ship it. It makes it stupidly easy, so you don't have to spend your manual time. You just let the software do 99% of the work, copy the stuff over, and then you verify the information, make sure it's right, format it right for the actual website, and then submit the listing. And then essentially what it is it's like fishing rods in the water. The more fishing rods, i.e. listings in this example that you have, the more potential sales that you will make. And as you start listing more and more consistently, even if you do like 50 a day, 100 a day, which doesn't take that long with the software, obviously it's doing the majority of the listing for you. There's also a bulk feature that I will show you how to utilize here in a second as well in this tutorial. it realistically isn't that hard to get that many listings up fast. And as you're doing it more and more consistently, you might look up a few weeks from now and be making pretty decent monthly money just by listing products on a website like Facebook Marketplace in this example, or Poshmark like the last one. I will also link that Poshmark dropshipping tutorial at the end of the description if you want to check that out too, since they're both heavily related, just on slightly different websites with slightly different strategies, but again, pretty similar. All you're going to need here is ZDrop. So I will link ZDrop in the description. I do not have an affiliate link with ZDrop. I make no money by recommending this to you, but it is something I have used and recommended for 5, 6, maybe even 7 years now. I don't know. It is a phenomenal tool for what you get. I believe it looks like $17 a month now. For what you get in this, it is unmatched, okay? Not only will it copy products from, to other websites like Etsy, Facebook Marketplace, Facebook Shop, Mercari, Poshmark, and a number of others, it will also pull from hundreds of different suppliers, and you can utilize the buttons here that it comes up with once you download the extension and obviously you upgrade to copy any product listing from almost any of the websites to all of the websites that they cover, right? So as you can see here, they support all these marketplaces right here. I've used Facebook Marketplace. I don't dropship on eBay, although I suppose you could use it for that. Shopify, I've used it before as well. You can copy to Amazon, copy to TikTok Shop, Etsy, Mercari, Poshmark, and a number of these other ones, like Curtsy's one I've done, Depop, Grailed, TradeZ, and Vinted. Kitizen, there's a number of them. I think Kitizen actually got discontinued fairly recently, but there's a ton of them out there, right? Best Air Collective was another one. Now, all of these websites you can copy from, so it doesn't just have to be Amazon, eBay, Etsy, Walmart. You can copy from any of these websites as well, and the button will pop up on that website to copy it over to whatever marketplace you want, okay? Now, here's what you're gonna get when you actually download it in ZDrop. You're gonna have all your products that you've listed here with their actual prices on the supplier, and it's gonna store them automatically. So when you copy over the actual product using the button, it's gonna store it in your actual extension. So all you have to do is come back into the search bar, type a keyword for that product listing up, and you can find that product very, very easily. And then the picture's clickable, and it's going to take you directly to that supplier listing like that. You can't beat that, especially for that price. It does all of that stuff. It is a no-brainer. Now, I use it for a ton of other things as well. You can also download pictures and download videos on different listings. So in this case, it would download any images or videos on this listing, but it doesn't just do Amazon. It does a number of other websites too. Now, that is important if you're doing like TikTok Shop or TikTok affiliates, or realistically a number of other things, but there's so much functionality of this. But in this tutorial, just to keep it kind of brief for you, because I could talk about this for hours, I'm just going to show you how to utilize it to dropship to Facebook Marketplace, right? Now, one more thing before we actually get started as well is in the settings, you can personalize it for whatever you want. So you can have it run to different websites by clicking in the different buttons and selecting them. You can mark your profit percentage so that when you copy it over, it marks it up a certain percentage. As you can see here, I have it automatically listing at a quantity of 10 and a profit percentage of 75. You could also do profit dollars, and you can set up a custom template if you want in templates, and then apply that template as well. Now, as you scroll down, you can do different functions. So do you want to list in used condition, new condition? Do you want to hide it from your friends on Facebook Marketplace? You get the picture. Just go through these prompts and set it up how you want. It's very, very easy. And I have other tutorials showing how to actually go ahead and set this up. And all you really need to know as well is at the bottom, you can show and hide certain buttons for other stores, right? So depending on what marketplaces you want up, so it doesn't cloud your browser with all these different blue buttons of like 100 different blue buttons, you can unselect some if you don't plan on using them by just going again to settings, scrolling all the way down, and unselecting Vinted or unselecting Depop or unselecting Grailed or whatever you want, right? And only having the few that you plan on utilizing it to copy, and then just make sure that you save your button status and then save the actual settings on your ZDrop extension. Now, if you're drop shipping and you want your sales to actually take off quickly, then you absolutely need to be using something like Zeek Analytics. It's a no-brainer. I've used it to find top performing products for years now. So here is exactly how it works. Now, as you can see, when you log in, there's a number of different options for you. The cool thing about this as well is they have a full, hub of tutorials and training. So even if you're a complete beginner to finding products or using product research software or any of the things that they offer within here, they have a full training for it. You just click the tutorials and training tab over here, right? Also, if you hover down on tools, they're all over here on the left as well. But if you just hover down on tools, you can see all the things that they offer. They have a sales tracker. They have a store finder. Why are those things important? Well, if you're tracking a specific product, you can keep an eye on it, monitor it for a few days to a week, and make sure that it is actually doing, good numbers and see everything that is involved with that specific product. So you can make an informed decision and not just guess based on a window in time, but be 100% sure. The store finder, if you're reverse engineering, another competitor, regardless of where you're selling, whether that's Shopify, eBay, Amazon, Etsy, it doesn't matter where the actual store is, right? The same overall strategy always applies, right? You want to reverse engineer a competitor that is doing well and then take their best products essentially and, not undercut them, but you take a piece of that specific pie and then you get access to those sales and those products, right? The Product Explorer, also they offer a title builder. There's a ton of options here, and I could go through this literally for hours with each individual tool here. I'm personally going to show you the Trending Products tab because that is what everybody is going to use in the beginning, and it is the most easy to get results in a short time period, especially for beginners, right? Also, you can just change your marketplace by clicking up here in the top left and change it if you want a specific marketplace, right? Right now we're on Shopify, so let me show you how it works and why this is advantageous for a number of different reasons, depending on where you're selling. But for example, let's say hypothetically we're selling on TikTok Shop. Well, we could find the top trending products that are selling right now on Shopify, for example, and then bring those specific products to our TikTok Shop or even our Shopify store or our Facebook Marketplace shop, whatever the case is, right? And as you scroll down, it will show you the top trending products in the last 30 days. So there's a lot of different socks, believe it or not. Compression socks, Halloween socks, being that we are in October right now when I'm recording this video. If you scroll down, you'll see more compression socks. You'll see a lot of different options from wedding stuff like veils and things along those lines. This thing is a new toy as well. That's like a child tortoise interactive toy. So you could see right now the revenue here is 2,800 roughly, and it's going up. The sales are 111. And one of the cool things that I like about this personally is you can also analyze the specific store that's selling it. So we'll tell you all the data about that. So if you click Analyze Store, it will literally bring you to that specific store, all their specific products, their top products, their sales, their revenue, when they actually started, the different social media channels that they're selling on, and what those things are, right? Why is this important? Because, for example, if you find a store that's selling well, obviously the first thing that you can do is go down the list here and go after that specific toy, or that's, in this case, that specific product, obviously, right? But another really great thing is you can go back to their store and see maybe that's not their best selling product, right? Maybe overall that's like their third or fourth best selling product. And you can go one step further and find and reverse engineer their top 3 products that you might not have otherwise seen if you didn't click into their store. So that is a really cool thing. So as you can see here in their best sellers and their recently sold, you could just sort it for revenue, you could sort it for sales, and then it will automatically sort that for their best selling product. Now, as you can see, their top revenue product right here is this barbecue machine. Looks like a kebab thing. Their other best-selling product is a sparkling water maker. And then as you get down a little further, this one doesn't even come into play until I don't know what that is, 10 deep, right? So that's a really cool way that you can also reverse engineer top products from other top sellers that other people using software might not necessarily see, which is ultimately the game changer. And one other thing I want to hit home is the ease of use of this, because you don't need to actually go ahead and search the supplier. It will literally link it to you right away. So if you just click that supplier button on the right, it will take you into a number of different options for this, the price on it, the ROI, a ton of different things. And if you just click as an example on the actual product, it will literally take you to that product. Why is that advantageous? Because you don't have to actually go out and find the supplier, find the specific product. I'm not signed into AliExpress at the specific moment, but as you can see just off the top of the bat, if we were selling on obviously Facebook Marketplace, it doesn't matter, you could list this. Obviously eBay, it wouldn't matter, you could list this. But for example, if you're selling somewhere like TikTok Shop, where your shipping parameters have to meet a specific deadline, that's extremely important because you want to see what the estimated shipment is, whether this is a US-based supplier, where the actual warehouse is, and a number of different things, right? So as you can see, we are on the 17th. This is estimated delivered from the 24th to the 1st. So this would work for a number of different websites, but it wouldn't really work for TikTok Shop. And that's really important that we know that. So we can just go back and figure out, all right, well, which one of these would ship on time, if we were shipping on TikTok Shop, right? So this is a game changer. Zeek Analytics is probably one of the best tools that you can use for product research, reverse sniping other top sellers, their stores, other top products, and a number of other things. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. This basically shortcuts your product research and gives you a shorter time frame between you and top products, and ultimately gives you all the tools to do smarter product research a lot faster. And believe it or not, the coolest thing about it is they are so confident in what they offer. And trust me, I've been using this for like 5 years, all the way back to when I first started on Facebook Marketplace, dropshipping a while back. And I still use it to this day for a number of different reasons. And you just hop in and kind of see different trends, different products that you might not have otherwise seen if you were looking at other software, or you weren't looking at the specific, trending products on their software for eBay or for Shopify or for whoever. They're so confident, they stand behind their product so much that they are literally offering a $1 trial for a month. So you can try the full software out, not like a shortened snippet version of it, the complete software for just $1 for a full month, right? That's a game changer. So if you want to try it out, you can test drive the power of Zeek Analytics in full to find hot products a lot faster. Just click that first link in the description below, go over, and you can try it out for $1. Game changer. All right, so back to the tutorial now. This is how simple it is once you set it up. So we just find the button on here that says copy to Facebook, and it's going to copy it over to Facebook Marketplace for us. Now, what is it going to do instantly? As soon as we see the button pop up here, we're going to paste the data in there. Paste the data. Now it's going to copy over the pictures very quickly, the title of the listing, the description of the listing, and also mark the price up whatever we set it to. And as you can see, I set mine to 75%. So it's going to mark whatever the price is on Amazon in this example, or whatever your supplier's website is, up 75%. Okay. Now you don't have to start that high. It depends on the different website, right? So like if you're listing on a site that has lower fees, then obviously you can get away with listing it at a lower percentage because you don't want your price to be ridiculously high, right? If you're listing on a site like Poshmark, you're going to want to list it with higher percentage because they have the highest fees of any website. But again, you have good sales there as well. So it just depends. But typically I like to recommend most people at least start at 60%. That might sound high, but you would rather do less work for less sales and more profit, right? Because you can drop your price and get a ton of sales. But realistically, there's that sweet spot that I've found where it's like you want to do less work for less sales that are getting you more profit. It seems like a no-brainer, and 60% is right around that sweet spot that I've found personally over the past 5 years or so that works, gets you sales, and also doesn't have processing 100 orders a day, which can be tedious and annoying if you don't have a virtual assistant to do it for you, right? Which is something you could do to scale in the future, but we're obviously not talking about that right now. So as you can see, I listed all the actual pictures. So now you want to pick the best picture to drag in the front, because that first picture is going to be the listing picture that's actually going to get the views, right? That's going to draw people's attention in, and then they're going to potentially check out the listing, the other pictures on the listing. So that first picture is important. Make sure that your first picture is the best one that you think orchestrates the actual product the best, right? Now for the actual title, what you could do is you could change it around a little bit so it's not super hard for other people to snipe you. But realistically, because Facebook Marketplace isn't popping off like it used to, and because there's not a ton of dropshippers on here anymore, you almost don't really need to worry about it as much anymore. What I typically like to tell people now is just make sure that there's no brand names in the title that are super obvious. If it says, a super obvious brand name, like, whatever it is, if it's a third-party brand, obviously, because you shouldn't be listing any popular brands like Nike, Adidas, anything like that. Avoid those popular brands. But if you're listing a third-party smaller brand, like this is, for example, it's just an Amazon seller that's third-party, take the brand name out if it says it's like whatever it is in the beginning, right? That's a no-brainer. And mark the price up 75%, as we can see from the original listing at $90. It's going to auto suggest us certain categories. I'm going to go duffel and gym bags, but if you didn't like that, you could click into categories and actually pick one out for yourself. It auto listed it in new condition, and it auto copied over all of the description as well. Now, what I'll do for the description is I'll check the last bullet point if it's Amazon, like we are talking about in this example, because typically Amazon listings as the last bullet point can, not always, can sometimes have money back guarantees or information about the warranty or information about the brand or whatever the case is. After sale service, you'll see one a lot like that. So I'll check the last bullet point, and if it says that, I'll delete that bullet point, and if not, then I'll keep it. But obviously I'm just going to delete everything after that. Now, you don't need to worry about any of the color, the material, or anything like that. If you want to add it, you can, but it's going to slow you down, because at the end of the day, this is a numbers game. Like I said, think more fishing poles in the water, more potential fish or sales in this example, and more money in your pocket. So I wouldn't worry about adding any other things that you don't need to. You can go very quickly. Like, you can list here. I've done other videos in the past. You could search the channel on listing to Facebook Marketplace and realistically doing like 100 listings. I forget the number. It might have been like in 30 minutes. And you go through, you bang it out really quickly with software like this, and it's not very difficult, right? So I'm gonna hide it from friends. And then the delivery method is shipping or local pickup. If you're brand new and you've never listed, you might not have the shipping option. So I can if you want to know how to get the shipping option, let me know, comment below if that's you, and I will drop a video on how to do that. I'm gonna make it specifically for how to get the shipping option super quickly, because I've done videos like that in the past, and I literally just did it with a brand new profile a few months ago, so I know how to do it. But I don't wanna cover that here. This is for those of you that obviously have the shipping option already. You select shipping. Prepaid shipping labels aren't available anymore on Facebook, which is great because we don't care about that. We're drop shipping it. I always put the shipping rate at $5, but you could also offer free shipping if you wanted to as well. Then you click next and you move forward, and you can publish it to any groups if you want to. I don't ever do that. I just click publish, and then we move on to the next listing. So there we go, publish that one. And as soon as it's done, we're gonna X out, go to the next listing. All right, there we go. So now we're going to list these glasses or these goggles here. And before I take you through one more of these, I want to show you how easy it is to actually list in bulk. So if you click the Z-Drop extension up here and you go to bulk right here, you're going to start noticing that as you add things to your bulk list, which is a button I'll show you here in a second that's in blue, it's going to start adding listings here. And then what you can do is you can come back up to your extension, go to bulk, and once you've added a bunch in here, then you can just select them all and run bulk, and then go about your day. Come back and it will have listed 50 of them up there, or 30 of them up there, or 10 of them up there, whatever you want to do in bulk already for you. And you just have to come back and verify a few things and then click publish like I showed you once it's already moved over. Now that's going to save you a ton of time, because the most time intensive part of this is waiting for it to copy. Even though it's very quick at copying, it still takes like 30 seconds sometimes to actually copy it over, but you can save 30 seconds times 50 or whatever the case is if you just run it in bulk, add them all to your bulk list first, run it in bulk like I said, and then go have a coffee. Whatever you want to do, go play 9 holes of golf or whatever you want to do, right? And so by adding different things to your bulk list and running it in bulk, you can go a lot faster, you can save a lot of time. Maybe you're going to work. Right before you go to work, add 50 to your bulk list and then run it, okay? Do it really fast when you get home, and you can kind of be like your side hustle that way, right? So as you can see, we need to find the button where it says add to bulk. So save to bulk list, boom. Once it comes back up to the top and you see all the pictures move, you've added to the bulk list. So we'll move on to the next one. Save to the bulk list. All the pictures moved. Next one, save to the bulk list. Came back to the top and all the pictures moved. So now if we go into the bulk list, you should see all 3 of those listings. Boom, there they are. So if I wanted to run it in bulk, I would just select them all, run bulk, and then you'd see it start running all the listings in bulk as I'm talking to you, just copying them over, adding them in, copying them over, adding them in, and everything will be there for you 5-10 minutes later, depending on obviously how many listings you've obviously added in there. But you've added 50, which is the most that I typically recommend people to do, because sometimes it can lag out. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes it can. And I've noticed that if you give it like 100 listings at once, it tends to happen a lot more frequently. So 50 seems to be that sweet spot where it does a very good job of it, but it doesn't go slow or lag out. Now I did forget to actually change the bulk lister here, so that's going to be an issue. Let me stop it and I'll show you how to fix that. One more little caveat is if we stop the bulk lister, you need to, because you can bulk list to a bunch of different platforms, right? So if you want to change your bulk list settings, come back into your settings under the extension, go into settings, and then change where you run it to bulk. So see, if you were paying attention, it started listing bulk to Poshmark. So if you want it to list to Mercari or Facebook Shop or wherever, you obviously want to select that button, right? So I want it to Facebook Marketplace. I'd want to select that. then I would scroll all the way down and save my button status, okay? But that's the bulk lister, just to kind of give you a short rundown of how to use it. It's going to save you a ton of time and make it so much easier. But let me show you how fast to copy one more of these over. So just copy to Facebook, let it do its job. When you see the paste data button pop up, then you'll paste the data, and as soon as we see all the information pop up here, there we go. So now copy the pictures, as you can see, the title and the description, and mark the price up. Now, one of the things here is a perfect example. You don't want this brand name in the title, right? Because they don't need to know that it's Jamie Wynn motocross goggles. We could just delete that out. And now we'll still be able to search these keywords or even this entire title into our actual search bar when somebody orders this to find the product, know where to order it from. Because again, like I said, ZDrop stores all of that information in there for you by just doing a simple search. You can search a keyword, search the entire listing, whatever you want to do. Or what you could do is you could just search this in the search bar on Amazon. You'd find it very quickly. If you know your main suppliers, you search the search bars there. You could search it for Google. You could also reverse image search the actual image pictures. That works very well as well. There's a ton of ways to find your supplier, but realistically with ZDrop, you don't need to use any of those because it's going to store all of them here for you, which is another reason that I love it, okay? So it marked the price up, it got the actual title in there, it suggested us different categories. Again, if you didn't like that, you could click the down arrow. If you didn't like any of these, you didn't think it fits, click the down arrow, search through categories, find one that you think fits. But obviously we're gonna go with winter sports here. It's motocross goggle. Actually, let's go goggles and masks. It's listed it in new condition. Again, we're going to go down to the last bullet point, see if it talks about any warranty, brand information, or anything like that. It does not, so we can keep it. But I'm going to delete everything after that because we don't really need it. Scroll down, hide it from friends, click next. Delivery method, again, is shipping. If you don't have the shipping option, comment below. If enough of you comment below, I'll make the video on how to get the shipping option fast. And I like to offer $5 shipping rate. You can offer it for free if you want to. It doesn't really matter since you've already marked your price up a decent amount, right? Then you click next and you publish it. And that is how easy it is to drop ship using ZDrop in Amazon or Walmart or eBay or wherever on Facebook Marketplace. Now, full disclosure, it is not crazy like it used to be. You will not make $10,000, $20,000 a month in profit. You won't even realistically make $5,000 in profit, obviously. You're still going to even struggle to make $1,000 a month in profit realistically on Facebook Marketplace. But if you just are listing to Facebook Marketplace on top of Poshmark or somewhere else, it's a no-brainer because you can make $300, $500, $800 a month in profit on this website just listing the same products using the same business model. It is a no-brainer. I definitely recommend that you do it. So I really hope this helps, guys. Any questions, let me know.
All right, so when dropshipping on Facebook Marketplace, there's two ways to protect your long-term account health and make sure that you can do this sustainably over time, right? The first is to do the dropship arbitrage like we do on OfferUp and Poshmark as an example, and a little bit of Mercari, as well as use review images. Now, you don't need to do either of those, but doing both of those will help maintain your account health longer because it will be practically impossible to detect that you're dropshipping. So obviously, dropship arbitrage, you would just use the label that Facebook provides, and I'll show you that here in a second. And obviously review images are going to help your listings look more native to the platform because platforms like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, for example, started with reselling items, right? So generally speaking, most people still have the perception that they're going to get secondhand items that are used on this platform, although obviously you can find dropship items and new items, right? Furthermore, using review images on your Facebook listings is going to help protect your account from IP claims from other sellers, which used to be a major issue. Isn't that big of an issue anymore, but it's just going to protect your account so you never have to face that issue. So you don't need to do this, especially when you're starting, just to get some actual listings up quickly and start making some money. But as you start thinking about protecting your long-term account health and really doing this consistently over time, I would implore you to at least test these strategies and use them if you want to be completely safe, right? But really briefly, I want to talk about the sponsor of today's video. So if you're trying to grow your dropshipping store without dumping a bunch of money or a bunch of time in it, then you need to check out Dropshore.com. It's your free all-in-one solution to make scaling your dropshipping store super easy. Now, it's not just another supplier. It's more like your behind-the-scenes business partner that's going to help you scale everything from product sourcing to order fulfillment. They have a huge selection of top-selling, low-cost products, and everything is just simply plug and play. You can auto-fulfill orders very easily. You can track inventory, and you can connect with platforms like Shopify, WooCommerce, TikTok Shop, eBay, all in one
one place, and the list goes on. Now, shipping, it's covered. They offer fast delivery from US, EU warehouses, and they even take care of global fulfillment as well. So you also get a data-backed product recommendation in real time, also real-time analytics for every single time you're logging in to help you spot winners early, and the option to brand your products if you're looking to white label them and differentiate from your competitors. And the cherry on top is that it stands by every single order as well. So if anything gets lost, if anything gets damaged, they've got it handled so your customers stay happy and your reputation stays solid, but also you as an orderer stays happy as well, right? Too many times I've dealt with dropship suppliers where if something's reported as it's not received, you have to eat that cost, and with Dropship.com, you no longer have to. So if you want to level up your store without the usual stress, check out Dropship.com. It's a great move. It's free to get started. The link's in the description below.
So the way that you can actually do this, if you want to do the dropship arbitrage and dropship with review images, is first and foremost, you need items to get review images that have a lot of reviews, right? If you're listing products that don't have a lot of reviews, like this 38 review bear blow up here, chances are there's not really going to be any high quality review images on this actual product that we can utilize that are going to showcase the actual product well and actually get sales, right? So there's a lower likelihood the lower amount of reviews that you have, but the higher amount of reviews a product has, usually I try to find something that's at least like 400 to 500 reviews, preferably over 1,000. Like this cat right here with almost 1,300 reviews probably has a bunch of really good review images that we can then utilize on our listing. So if we scroll down to the review images just to kind of look, you'll notice that there's a ton of review images here. So see all photos, and boom, it's got a ton of which we can use other people's photos to make it look like we have this product in our possession, and then obviously would do the dropship arbitrage. Now you could do one or the other. You don't have to do both. You could just dropship directly with review images. You could also just do dropship arbitrage with the actual normal listing photos. Both of them work. These are just two tools that are going to help you prolong your account health longer, right? So one of the cool things about Z-Drop is when you're doing it with the review images, you can select the actual images here and it will bring them over with you, right? So if you go down to the review images and we click the check boxes, like for these as an example, then we scroll back up and we copy it to Facebook Marketplace, it will copy those review images for us. So it really saves a ton of time. And then of course it will actually copy the stock listing images as well, but then you can just delete them out. This is gonna save you a ton of time because you no longer have to take snippets of them manually, which is what you used to have to do. So this is a complete game changer now, right? So there you go. It's gonna take the listing images, but it also at the end put the review images that we selected, again, all with Z-Drop just by clicking the checkbox. And so then if you wanna use review images only, you just delete all the normal images out of there and bam, now we only have review images on our listing and it looks a lot better, okay? Then you would go through just like normal, you would edit the title, you would edit the description just like normal. Again, it marked the price up automatically. Now category, this would be a lawn ornament or a holiday ornament. I'm gonna say lawn ornament. The condition here is new. And now if you wanna do the dropship arbitrage when you click next, instead of actually using your own label, right? So instead of using your own shipping label, you would use the prepaid label that they give you so that instantly Facebook has that tracking number and there's less ambiguity, there's less customer complaints. They get the tracking number immediately in their order. Facebook has it synced up automatically, and so you don't run into many issues. It doesn't look like you're drop shipping. And then of course you would have to order it to your house first, use the label, package it, drop it off at the post office, etc., right? So the way that you can do this, just like you would on Mercari or Poshmark, you don't really need to worry about it, but Mercari is you'd go back to the listing, you'd obviously have to find out the weight, so you just scroll down to the product dimensions really fast and the product information. There it is right here. It's a pound and it's 9 by 9 by roughly 8. So we'd come back, we'd say it's a pound, and we can pick our shipping carrier. Obviously we'd go USPS first class here because it's cheaper, and then we'd update it. Now we're using the prepaid label that Facebook provides us. So we're doing the dropship arbitrage on this listing, and we did it with review images. So really hope that helps, guys. You don't need to do these two things. They're just two tools that can help prolong your account health and really fly under the radar dropshipping on Facebook Marketplace. Give them a shot.